Chapter 717, A Woman's Heart is a Deep Ocean of Secrets. 3. About an hour later, Leng Ruoxue and the others finally finished their meal. Stealing a glance at the three old men sitting in the hall, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but exclaim, "Oh, Xian Zun indeed lives up to his name. His willpower isn't something an ordinary person can compare to." "Master, we've already finished our meal, yet no one in the Shadow League is paying attention to us. Why don't we head back first? Otherwise, if we continue waiting like this, I'm afraid we'll have to eat dinner here as well." Feng Zhan spoke with displeasure. "It doesn't matter. It's not a problem for us to eat our food for a few decades. I just don't know if Feng Xian can wait any longer." Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. "Oh. That's true, hee. Feng Zhan lightly glanced at the three old men whose expressions were very unsightly, and agreed with a mischievous smile. However, he couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. I'll starve all of you to death, damn old geezers. You actually want to take them down a notch. If you're not hungry, who are you going to starve?" As for the three old men in the hall, when they heard their conversation, they could not remain calm anymore. Boo-hoo. It seemed like they had been taken down a notch. If they really ate here for decades, they would have starved to death long ago. "Oh. Miss Leng, right?" An old man cleared his throat and asked lightly. "N." Leng Ruoxue nodded, and didn't say anything else. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Miss Leng, since you're here, I won't beat around the bush anymore. Please take out the antidote. RLL plead for leniency on your behalf to the Phoenix clan, the old man continued. However, his stomach started growling again. This old man must have misunderstood. I am not here to give Feng Xian the antidote. Feng Xian bullied my subordinates. I am here to get back at them. Leng Ruoxue smiled wickedly. What? Miss Leng, did we hear wrongly? Your subordinates are not injured at all, you want to get back at them? The three old men stared with their eyes wide open, their faces full of disbelief. Ah! Were they hallucinating? The one who was injured was Feng Xian. Not only was she poisoned, her injuries were not light either, and Feng Yan was also badly beaten up. They're unharmed because the other party isn't strong enough. So, this doesn't mean that the other party didn't bully my subordinates. Oh. This should be called an unsuccessful attempt at bullying, and my subordinates are purely defending themselves. So, as their boss, I must get justice for my subordinates. Leng Ruoxue calmly said, and a gorgeous smile hung on her beautiful face. When the three old men heard Leng Ruoxue's words, they all stared at her as if she was a monster. Moreover, their slightly turbid gazes were constantly sizing her up. Even though they had carefully observed Leng Ruoxue and the others when they entered earlier, they were even more careful this time. Oh. These four people looked like dragons and phoenixes amongst men, but the strength of three of them wasn't that high. 3 mystic kings, 1 mystic venerable, and a little red snake whose level couldn't be determined. Even if they had Du Min backing them up, they shouldn't be so arrogant. The three of them were confused. Miss Leng, they're the Phoenix clan. After a long while, an old man finally spoke up to remind her. Actually, if this matter could be resolved peacefully, that would be for the best. After all, they did not want to offend the Phoenix clan. But, Lord Du Min, whose status was extraordinary in the vast Heaven continent, they also wanted to befriend him. Therefore, if they could not offend either side, that would be the most perfect. I know. The Phoenix clan are only beasts. If they're happy, they'll sign the contract. If they're unhappy, they'll roast it, Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. The three old men's foreheads were filled with black lines. They thought to themselves, as expected, newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Could it be because they haven't traveled the continent for a long time? Why are the young people nowadays so arrogant? However, they were more curious about what Miss Leng was relying on. Could it be that she was related to the Leng clan? As the saying goes, you can't have both the fish and the bare palm. So, you guys better think this through carefully. Don't take the wrong side. Leng Ruoxue laughed lightly. Humph. This time, she would not allow these old foxes to benefit from both sides. Ah. The three old men were depressed. Were they being threatened? They didn't expect that they would be threatened by a puny King Xian one day. However, even if they were angry, with Du Min backing Miss Leng, they couldn't do anything to this little girl. Boo-hoo. At this moment, they felt that they were too cowardly. However, who asked the other party to have the esteemed Du Min by his side? Sigh. In this world, anyone could be provoked, but they absolutely could not provoke an alchemist. The three old men were extremely conflicted in their hearts. They constantly weighed the importance of both sides to them and did not say anything for a long time. Leng Ruoxue and the rest naturally would not wait foolishly in the living room. While the three old men were frowning in thought, they quietly left the living room and went straight to Feng Xian and Feng Yan's residence. In the room, Feng Xian lay on the bed with a pained expression, while Feng Yan sat by the bed and waited, holding her hand tightly. As for the alchemist oldly sent by Shadow League, he turned his head to the other side with a helpless expression, his heart constantly twitching. Sigh. He really did not know why those old men had sent him here. Without the snake poison, he could not refine the antidote. Could it be that they had sent him here to admire these tea-mushy people? Brother Yan, you must take revenge for me. The pale and weak Feng Xian said with hatred. Yes, don't worry little sister Xian. I'll definitely take revenge for you. I've already sent someone to send a letter, and I believe it won't be long before the clansmen of the clan will rush over. Feng Yan hurriedly consoled. Brother Yan, I want Feng Miao to die. Feng Xian no longer concealed her feelings for Feng Miao, she said directly. If it was in the past, she might have put on an act in front of her clansmen, putting on a show of sisterly affection, but after she was bitten and tortured by that little red snake, the hatred in her heart could no longer be hidden. All right, I'll help you once you've recovered. Feng Yan consoled. Suddenly, with a loud bang, their door was kicked open. Both of them looked up at the door at the same time. Feng Miao, you bitch, you dare to appear in front of me. Feng Xian forced herself to sit up, she shouted fiercely, all of her hatred erupted at once. Chapter 7:18, A Woman's Heart is a Deep Ocean of Secrets. 4. Little sister Xian, don't be agitated. Feng Yan hurriedly reminded, and he looked at the uninvited Feng Miao with a hostile gaze. His will was extremely firm as he said, don't waste your efforts, I want change my min. What's going on? Leng Ruoxue and the devil looked at each other, a huge question mark appeared in their hearts. Oh. From what he said, could it be Jo? Hey. I say, you cheap man, don't think too highly of yourself, okay? Little Miao Miao isn't here to change your mind. Feng Zhan couldn't stand it anymore. Humph. How dare she bully his people, she was really courting death. Who are you talking about? You're merely a second-rank super divine beast. You really don't know the meaning of death. Feng Yan was instantly infuriated when he heard Feng Zhan, and he roared loudly. In the clan, he was a beast that was respected by his peers, yet a tiny second-rank super divine beast actually dared to humiliate him in front of him. Head really lived long enough. Even if I'm a level 2 super divine beast, I can still beat you up like a pig's head. Humph. Aren't you just a level 7? What's so great about that? My master's food rank is even higher than yours. Feng Zhan said with a face full of disdain. Pfft. Hearing Feng Zhan's words, Leng Ruoxue and the others couldn't help but laugh. Where's your master? I want to kill him. Feng Yan roared with rage from embarrassment when he heard this laughter. Humph. Had lived for so many years and had always been a proud son of the heavens. When had he ever suffered such a humiliation? You want to kill my master? You want to kill me? Two voices rang out at the same time. Feng Zhan looked at Feng Yan as if he had heard a fantasy story while Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless as she said, "Wu, did she get shot again? This guy couldn't win against Feng Zhan, so why did he start with her? Although she was here to get back at him for the beast, what right did a smelly bird have to target her? You're his master." Feng Yan was stunned, and he looked at Leng Ruoxue with a stunned expression. How could there be such a beautiful human like Feng Xian who was called the #1 beauty in the Phoenix clan? Compared to this woman before him, even a phoenix had become a chicken. And, it's real. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head as her beautiful eyes sized up the pretty boy in front of her. Oh, this fire phoenix's skin is tender, and it's strong. It looks quite delicious. Moreover, since he's about to kill her, then there's no need for her to be polite. Brother Yan, kill this woman for me. Feng Xian, who was sitting on the bed, saw her man staring straight at another woman and suddenly roared with jealousy. However, what made her even angrier was that this woman was even more beautiful than her. Sigh. Leng Ruoxue looked at the demon with slight grievance. Boo-hoo, someone wanted to kill her again. Why was she so easy to kill? However, she had always thought that jealousy was human specialty, but now it seemed that the world of beast men wasn't peaceful either. However, wasn't the person this woman was jealous of Feng Miao? Why did it turn to her now? She really couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she thought. Oh. No wonder people always said that a woman's heart was like a needle in the ocean. Don't be afraid. With me around, no one will be able to kill you. The demon pulled Shuer into his arms to comfort her. At the same time, his cold, bright eyes swept across Feng Xian in an unfriendly manner. Humph. 2 little birds actually wanted to kill her woman. These 2 birds had touched his soft spot. Therefore, his heart was filled with killing intent. N. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Hee. The feeling of having a man to protect her was indeed different. She was so happy in her heart. In reality, no matter how strong a woman was, she still needed a man to protect her. Humph. An adulterous pair. On the bed, Feng Xian saw the 2 of them flirting with each other. Her jealousy intensified. She shouted again, humph. This is really infuriating. Not only is this woman prettier than her, even her man is better than the man she had fought so hard to get. This is really infuriating. At this moment, she had already forgotten that she was not human. Adulterous pair. Us? Leng Ruoxue looked suspiciously at the demon. It looks like they're talking about us. The demon shrugged his shoulders innocently and said helplessly. Boo, he and Shuer were engaged. How did they become an adulterous couple in the mouth of that ugly woman? Ha! At this moment, Feng Zhan's eye couldn't help but laugh wildly as well. He truly admired this woman's way of thinking. He was clearly the adulterous couple, yet she actually threw dirty water on his master. Thus, he could already foresee the outcome of this woman. What are you laughing at? You and Feng Miao are also an adulterous pair. Feng Xian said angrily. Ah. Feng Zhan really couldn't laugh after hearing this. Boo-hoo, he felt wronged too. He and Feng Miao were obviously very pure colleagues, but when it came to that woman's mouth, it was, sigh. Feng Xian, how shameless can you be? You and him are the adulterous pair, but now you are shamelessly accusing others, humph. How can there be a clan member like you in the Phoenix clan? I really feel ashamed for the Phoenix clan. Feng Miao pointed at Feng Xian and Feng Yan. She could not bear it any longer and scolded. Humph. Feng Miao, even though Feng Yan was once your fiancé, he did not like you at all, he loved me. So, no matter what you do, it is useless, he will never change his mind, just give up on that thought. Furthermore, you actually colluded with outsiders to harm your clansmen. If your clansmen find out about this, they will not let you off. Feng Xian looked at Feng Miao provocatively, saying with a bit of pride. Aren't you afraid? Well, kill the birds to silence them. Leng Ruoxue said lightly. She really didn't expect these three people to have such a complicated relationship. Sigh. Poor Feng Miao. We are the Phoenix clan. You will not dare to kill us. Feng Xian said confidently. Is that so? But, you're all going to kill me. Do you think I'll leave behind a hidden danger for myself? Leng Ruoxua lightly smiled. Then, with a thought, she summoned her food from her ring. As soon as the food appeared, the small room naturally could not contain them. Therefore, they all squeezed together. Suddenly, a few loud cracking sounds could be heard. The house had already been torn apart, but there were no casualties in the room. Feng Xian and Feng Yan were both dumbfounded. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Chapter 719, Arrival of the Phoenix Clan, 1, Old Li, who hadn't said a word in the room, glanced around and saw that there was no room to hide from the wind. He sighed helplessly and then found a corner to sit down. He planned to continue watching the show. Oh. Based on his understanding of Leng Ruoxua and the others, the feud between them and the Phoenix clan was probably settled. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a little excited. Miss. The huge black python looked at the collapsed house and said with slight uneasiness. Woo. It was said that this was the Shadow League. Would they compensate for destroying the Shadow League's room? They did not have money. Is okay, it's just that the quality of this room is too poor, Leng Ruoxua said without blushing. She directly attributed the collapse of the room to the quality of the house. Yes. You really can't blame us. The black python nodded repeatedly. Woo. Miss is really too understanding. You, Feng Xian, who only came back to her senses after a long time, saw that there was no cover left. She was furious. What happened to us? Leng Ruoxua looked at Feng Xian, who was sitting on the bed with a smile that was not a smile. She asked, Oh. This room had collapsed quite well, not a single brick had fallen in. However, the furniture in the room had been destroyed by the pythons. The only thing that was intact was the bed that Feng Xian was sitting on. Shadow Alliance will not let you off. Feng Xian gritted her teeth, her eyes were burning with flames. Oh. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to know if the Shadow League will let us go. Leng Ruoxua pretended to ponder. Big Blackie. These two birds will be your snacks. Leng Ruoxua said to the rest of the pythons again. She really did not expect that this big black python had actually advanced to the next level not long after it had cultivated in the space. Oh. Not counting Feng Miao, now she was also a level 8 super divine beast, hee. And the effect of this big black python's advancement was that it greatly stimulated the cultivation of other beasts. Thank you, miss, for your reward. The black python said happily. At the same time, its dark eyes stared at the so-called snacks in front of it. The other pythons surrounded Feng Xian and Feng Yan in unison. You, what are you doing? Stay away from me. Feng Xian could not bear it any longer and shouted. She hated snakes the most. If she had seen these snakes before she was poisoned, she would have immediately released the Nan Ling Li fire to burn them to ashes. But now, she was weak all over. How could she still have the ability to release the Phoenix clan's flames? Young mistress said that you two birds are our snacks, the Akubla python said kindly. Hee. Young mistress was so good to them. After eating these two birds, it would definitely advance to the next level. As for the consequences of eating the members of the Phoenix clan, they didn't care. If it was in the past, they might not have had the guts to do so, but now, with young mistress backing them up, there was nothing to be afraid of. How dare you? I am from the Phoenix clan. Feng Xian said with a trembling voice. Woo, why were these snakes not afraid of her suppression? How could this be? Brother Yan, save me. Seeing that, Wind Fairy hurriedly cried for help. The water far away couldn't quench the fire near. Now, only Brother Yen could save her. Unfortunately, what she did not expect was that Feng Yen could not do anything at the moment. He was already surrounded by a few giant pythons, so how could he care about Feng Xian? Feng Yen looked at the impenetrable wall that surrounded him, and he felt a headache and depression. Moreover, he couldn't figure out why these pythons weren't afraid of his pressure. He was a level 7 divine beast. Not only was his bloodline above these pythons, his strength was also stronger than theirs. But he didn't expect that not only did these pythons not take his pressure seriously, they even looked at him with ridicule in their eyes. In fact, those pythons were indeed looking down on them very much. Moreover, all the pythons simultaneously felt uneasy in their hearts. Humph! A level 7 super divine beast actually dared to show off in front of them. Did it really think that its pressure was invincible? One had to know that they had undergone demonic training. Therefore, they could withstand the pressure of a level 9 super divine beast for a while. Dahe, hurry up and do it. After eating the snacks, we can go back and prepare dinner. Leng Ruoxua saw that they were staring at each other and couldn't help but urge them. Yes, miss. The black python flashed in front of the snake brothers, and then all the pythons collectively executed the same move, divine snake tail swing. In an instant, thick snake tails of various colors danced in midair, and along with the snake tails, 2 red rays of light floated past. Miss, what are they doing? Feng Miao asked in confusion when she saw the python's actions. They are exercising for food. Before making roasted chicken, they need to be touched. Leng Ruoxua looked at the red light floating in the air and explained with a smile. Oh. Feng Miao understood and looked at her cousin and ex-fiancé with a hint of sympathy. Hm. For some reason, knowing that they were about to become food, not only did she not feel worried at all, she even felt a hint of joy. Half an hour later, the pythons felt that they should be done with their exercise, so they threw the 2 red shadows down from the sky. Pa! 2 loud sounds were heard, and 2 large red birds landed on the ground. Just you wait. You're dead for sure. Feng Yen stuttered as he spat out the filth on the ground. Woo. It was too much. Even if they possessed wings, they were unable to endure being tossed around like balls by a few beasts with inferior bloodlines. This was an extraordinary humiliation to the proud Phoenix clan, so he would absolutely not let these damn snakes off. Big brother, we're being threatened by a bird, the Akubla python yelled. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have a chance anymore. The black python said disapprovingly. Oh. These 2 birds' stamina was really too poor. After just a few moves, they had already been tormented to the point of recovering their beast bodies. With such a small physique, they actually had the delusion of not letting them go. It was truly laughable. Brothers, quickly eat your snacks. Black Python said again. Yes, yes. The pythons nodded excitedly. Then, they swarmed forward and pounced on the 2 giant birds that had been tormented to the point that they could not resist at all. For a moment, the fiery red feathers abandoned their owner and danced in the air. Chapter 720, Arrival of the Phoenix Clan, 2. It was really too violent. These snakes ate birds without spitting out their bones. Old Li, who was hiding in a corner and watching, broke out in cold sweat. If he didn't know that Leng Ruoxua and the others wouldn't kill him to silence him, he would have probably fainted from fright. However, after seeing this scene, he was even more determined to get along well with these people. At the same time, the 3 old men in the hall who were deep in thought also received the report. However, when they rushed to the courtyard where Feng Xian and Feng Yen were staying, they only saw a collapsed room and a few fiery red feathers floating in the air. Leng Ruoxua and the others were sitting calmly at the side, and there was a group of pythons on the ground that seemed to be regulating their breathing. After seeing all of this, the 3 old men's hearts couldn't help but thump. A bad premonition surged in their hearts. Where are Feng Xian and Feng Yan? An old man could not help but ask. Eat it. Leng Ruoxue, who was leaning comfortably in the embrace of the demon, lightly spat out 2 words before she stopped talking. What? Who ate it? Asked the old man in disbelief. My beasts. Can't you see that they're regulating their breathing? They might even advance in a moment. Leng Ruoxue said with satisfaction. Oh. The Phoenix clan's bird meat was indeed extraordinary. Many pythons showed signs of advancing. You really ate it? That old man still didn't believe it and confirmed. Is true. If you don't believe me, ask Old Li. Leng Ruoxue pointed at Old Li in the comber. Yes. Old Li smiled bitterly and nodded. He had indeed seen it with his own eyes. Not only that, but these snakes were also very humble. They could eat more meat if they had a chance to advance. Sigh. He really did not know how other beasts were trained. It's over, it's over. The old man stomped his feet anxiously, cold sweat dripping down his forehead. Sigh. The princess of the Phoenix clan had died in Shadow City. The Phoenix clan wouldn't let it go, much less Leng Ruoxue and the others. The Shadow League had also been implicated by this girl. Sob, these people really had it coming. Little girl, you've implicated us. Another old man spoke and looked at Leng Ruoxue with a bitter face. Why would I implicate you guys? Those 2 birds were eaten by my beast, it has nothing to do with you guys. Leng Ruoxue smiled and played dumb. That Feng Xian is the princess of the Phoenix clan. Since she died in Shadow City, that old hag from the Phoenix clan will naturally hate us as well. So, tell me, did you implicate us? The old man said. His shrewd eyes continued to size up Leng Ruoxue, and he couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. Ha! This girl is really too bold. She even dared to provoke the Phoenix clan. He was getting more and more curious. What exactly did this young girl rely on? The princess of the Phoenix clan? Old man, as far as I know, the current clan leader of the Phoenix clan is just a substitute. So, Feng Xian can't be considered a princess, right? My subordinate is the real princess of the Phoenix clan. Don't pick up the sesame seeds and throw the watermelon. That would really be a joke. Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. It was both a reminder and a warning. Ah. The old man looked at Leng Ruoxue, then turned his gaze to Feng Miao and examined her carefully. Little girl, no matter what, you still dragged us into this. After a while, the old man, who had finished sizing her up, spoke again. Hm. He really hadn't expected Feng Miao to be the daughter of the Phoenix clan's clan leader, which surprised him. If you insist on saying that, there's nothing I can do. However, if you want to protect yourselves, when the people from the Phoenix clan come to find you, you can also hand us over. Leng Ruoxue suggested disapprovingly. Ah. The old man was a little depressed. He didn't expect Leng Ruoxue to be so straightforward. Actually, he didn't mean it that way at all. The reason why he said this was because he hoped this girl could give him some assurance. However, who knew that she wouldn't fall for it at all? Sigh. Didn't they say that the older the wiser? Why did they all transfer over in front of this little girl? Think carefully. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she ignored the 3 old men and closed her eyes. Not long after, the heaven-earth law that advanced finally descended. More than half of the giant pythons had successfully advanced. Even those that did not advance, their profound strength had also increased quite a bit. It would not be long before they advanced. After the pythons advanced, Leng Ruoxue and the rest led them out of the Shadow League's camp and back to the inn. In the guest room, all the pythons obediently lay on the table. Leng Ruoxue also removed everyone from the bracelet. Young miss, what should we do now? As soon as they came out, Fengde couldn't help but ask. They were sweating in the space just now. They were afraid that those old fellows from the Shadow League would lock young Miss and the others up. Nothing. Leng Ruoxue leaned against the demon and said calmly. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Calm, thanks. Girl, you're really bold. You even dare to kill the Phoenix clan. The little old man chuckled. Sigh. He knew that he wouldn't be bored by this git. Sighed. Look, even the powerful Phoenix clan had been provoked. Grandpa Du, they wanted to kill me first, I was just defending myself. Leng Ruoxue said innocently, her face full of grievance. Yes, that's right, the little old man quickly agreed. Miss, I'm sorry. It's all because of me. Feng Miao said with a face full of guilt. Sigh. Initially, she was in a hurry to leave Shadow City because she was afraid of meeting Feng Xian, but she did not think that she could not escape and even cause trouble for Mississippi. You don't need to blame yourself anymore, I won't watch my beast man get bullied. Leng Ruoxue comforted. Humph. Her beasts were not to be bullied by anyone, not even the Dragon and Phoenix clans. Miss, let's leave Shadow City quickly. The vast heaven continent is so big. It's also impossible for the Phoenix clan to find us for a while. Feng Miao thought for a moment and suggested. Although Miss was very formidable, the Phoenix clan had many level 9 super divine beasts. Therefore, she was very afraid that Miss and the rest would get injured. Feng Miao. It's not my nature to run away. Let's not go anywhere and just wait here for the Phoenix clan to arrive. Leng Ruoxue said very seriously. If she was not strong enough, she naturally would not fight them head-on. However, she had many methods now. Even if the Phoenix clan had many level 9 super divine beasts, she was not afraid. Chapter 721, Arrival of the Phoenix Clan, 3, Little Meow Meow, you have to have confidence in Master. Feng Zhan said with displeasure. Oh. What was so great about the Phoenix clan? He also had the entire Phoenix clan behind him. Although his clansmen might not be comparable to those Phoenix clan in the vast heaven continent in terms of strength, if they really fought, he believed that the Phoenix clan in the vast heaven continent would definitely not be their match. As for why he was so confident. Heh. It was a secret. Feng Miao nodded skeptically, then fell silent. Shuer, what do you plan to do with these people from the Shadow League? Wu asked curiously. I don't know, but if they can make the right choice, then we will have a chance to work together in the future. Otherwise, we will have to part ways. Leng Ruoxue thought for a moment and sighed. If only she knew who the owner of the Shadow League was. If that's the case, then even if the Shadow League annoyed her, she wouldn't have to worry too much. After all, knowing one's enemy is the key to victory. Shuer, let's make preparations earlier. I think the news of those 2 phoenixes dying will be sent back to the Phoenix clan very soon. Leng Qingtian said with a frown. The Phoenix clan should already know. Before each of us left the clan, we would leave behind a soul jade tablet. Right now, Feng Xian and Feng Yan's jade tablets are probably shattered. Feng Miao explained. That means they're almost here. Leng Ruoxue said excitedly. And, they will arrive at Shadow City in at most 3 days. Feng Miao nodded. Shuer, we only have 3 days to prepare. Leng Qingtian reminded. Grandfather, don't worry. We have space and plenty of time. We have 3 days to consider the Shadow League. Leng Ruoxue gloated. Feng De, go tell the shopkeeper that the Phoenix clan will arrive in 3 days. Tell them to make preparations. Leng Ruoxue turned around and instructed Feng De. Yeah, it'll be right there, Feng De said, and left the room to deliver the message. Miss, if you have a captive of the Phoenix clan, can you give him to me as a servant? Lin Yuan asked expectantly. Sure. The Phoenix clan in the vast heaven continent is too disobedient. They can only be servants too. Leng Ruoxue nodded and said. As long as you want it, you will get a share. Leng Ruoxue added. Hee hee. Everyone was overjoyed when they heard that. 3 days passed quickly. Compared to Leng Ruoxue and the rest who were relaxed, the upper echelons of the Shadow League weren't calm at all. Especially when they found out that the Phoenix clan would arrive in 3 days, they exploded. Because of this matter, the Shadow League was divided into 3 opinions. One was with Yu Tian as the representative, agreeing to cooperate with Leng Ruoxue. These people placed more importance on the alchemists around Leng Ruoxue. After all, in their eyes, the Phoenix clan might be very powerful, but the members of the Phoenix clan didn't know how to refine medicinal pills. Therefore, Leng Ruoxue and the others were more beneficial to them. The second option was to cooperate with the Phoenix clan and hand Leng Ruoxue and the others over. In their eyes, Leng Ruoxue and the others couldn't be compared to the powerful Phoenix clan. The last one represented neutrality. In their opinion, neither side would help the other. This way, both sides would not be offended. However, they ignored Leng Ruoxue's thoughts. Would she be willing to let them remain neutral? The truth was, of course, not. After 3 days of urgent discussions, the Shadow League had been debating non-stop. As time passed, the Shadow League finally came to a consensus: they would wait and see. Because of their indecision, in the future, they would not be able to become Leng Ruoxue's true allies and could only exist awkwardly as partners. In the guest room, Leng Ruoxue chuckled and looked up at the sky. At this moment, the sky was fiery red. Of course, these weren't clouds of fire, but the Phoenix clan. The flames on their bodies dyed the sky red. Miss, we are surrounded. Feng Dao reminded her smilingly. There was no fear on his handsome face. Yes. Leng Ruoxue was still looking out the window, thinking that the Phoenix clan was obviously trying to intimidate them by making such a big fuss. Unfortunately, they were looking for the wrong person. The person who killed my daughter and son-in-law, get the hell out here. At this time, in the air outside the guest shop, the acting patriarch of the Phoenix clan, Feng Yun, finally couldn't hold back and shouted out loud. Humph. She only had this one daughter. She was actually killed by someone. When she found out that the person who killed her daughter was a human and that she lived in the Shadow Pavilion, she immediately rushed over with her clansmen. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Leng Ruoxue's beautiful eyes lightly glanced at the beautiful middle-aged woman floating in the air. She completely ignored her and continued to comfortably lean against the freak's chest while eating her delicious food. It was as if she was watching a show as she watched the middle-aged woman prancing around by herself. Feng Miao, you traitor who betrayed your own people, come out and accept your death. After a while, Feng Yun saw that no one was paying attention to her, and the fire in her heart burned even more fiercely, and she continued shouting. However, Feng Miao was also eating the food in front of her very calmly, ignoring Feng Yun. In these 3 days, after knowing the misdetailed plan, her confidence multiplied. You bunch of cowards. What kind of ability do you have to hide in the Shadow Pavilion? If you have the guts, then get the hell out here. After a long time, Feng Yun, who still didn't receive any response, was so angry that she was about to vomit blood. Thus, she didn't care about her image and roared out loud. Humph. If it wasn't because she was worried that the Shadow Pavilion was the property of the Shadow City, she would have burned it down a long time ago. Even though she wasn't afraid of the Shadow Alliance now, she was still afraid of the mysterious master behind the Shadow Alliance. So, as long as the Shadow Alliance didn't protect the person who killed her daughter, she wouldn't fall out with the Shadow Alliance. That person is the acting clan leader of the Phoenix clan. Leng Ruoxue pretended to be stupid as she pointed at the middle-aged shrew outside the window and asked Feng Miao. Hmichum. Feng Miao nodded. She thought to herself, this old woman is really mad. She actually disregarded her image and cursed. Hee hee. If the other members of the Phoenix clan knew about this, it would be useless for her to pretend anymore. Miss, when are we going out? Feng De asked eagerly. Chapter 722, Arrival of the Phoenix Clan. 4. Feng De, we have to respect our elders. Let that old woman curse for a while. When she gets tired, well, go out. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Sigh. This old woman is full of energy. No wonder she wasn't tired after scolding for so long. Feng Yun constantly cursed outside. Unfortunately, the people in the room did what they were supposed to do. No one bothered with her. After cursing for a long time, she was already so tired that she was gasping for breath. Miss, that old woman seems to be tired of scolding. Feng De pricked up his ears and listened carefully. However, it had been quite a while since he heard any cursing. It's time for us to go out and show off, Leng Ruoxue calmly said with a smile that could topple cities. Miss, let's go. Feng De said impatiently. He rode his beast and flew out of the window. After Feng Da's dragon carried its master out of the window, it immediately transformed into its largest form to avoid losing to those stinky birds. The others naturally followed the same method, while Leng Ruoxue, the freak, the strongest among them, was the last to fly out of the window. Feng Yun looked at Leng Ruoxue and the others who flew out of the inn, and her fiery red phoenix eyes immediately released a light of hatred. However, when she saw Feng De and the others riding the giant dragon, her pupils shrunk, and her face was filled with disbelief. Why do you have dragons? Feng Yun angrily asked. How could these people have any connection with the dragon race? With her relationship with a certain dragon, even if she were beaten to death, she wouldn't believe that the dragon race would help someone who had a grudge against her for killing her daughter. Not only do we have dragons, we also have phoenixes. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. That's right, you damned old hag. You and the clansmen you brought here are the true trash. Feng Zhan roared with extreme rage. Had originally intended to spare their lives for the sake of all of them being members of the Phoenix clan, but had changed his mind now. All of the Phoenix clansmen that had come today would die. You bastard child that came out of nowhere, who are you scolding? When Feng Yun heard Feng Zhan actually call him an old woman, he immediately became even more angry. After all, women didn't like to hear such words, especially women of a certain age. So, when Feng Yun heard this, his reaction was extraordinarily great. Damned old hag, you're the bastard. Your entire family are all bastards. Feng Zhan retorted without the slightest trace of politeness. Fuck. He, who possessed the noble bloodline of the Phoenix King, actually dared to call him a bastard. He was truly courting death. Feng Yun wanted to curse out loud, but was stopped by Leng Ruoxue. Patriarch Feng Dai, do you want to continue bickering or take revenge for your daughter? Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless. She didn't want a battle that was waiting to happen to become a war of words. Moreover, she wanted to take this rare opportunity to test the strength of her beasts. Of course I want to take revenge for my daughter. Miss Leng, as long as you hand over those snakes that ate my daughter, I will spare your life. Feng Yun stated her conditions. She had already investigated clearly. Her daughter and future son-in-law had been eaten by several pythons. Leader Feng Dai, this is not possible. Feng Xian and Feng Yan were given to them by me, moreover, they are my beasts, how could I hand them over? Leng Ruoxue said calmly, not accepting Feng Yun's kindness at all. Miss Leng, as long as you hand over those snakes to me, I promise I won't kill you. Feng Yun guaranteed. In truth, she didn't even think that way in her heart. She only wanted to coax Leng Ruoxue to hand over those stronger snakes first, and then slowly deal with these weaker little beasts. But, I don't believe you. Besides, I don't think you can kill me. Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Offending our Phoenix clan won't do you any good. Feng Yun threatened. Chapter 723, Phoenix Forest, 1. Even if I don't offend him, I have no choice. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. Feng Yun was so angry by Leng Ruoxue that she couldn't speak. Clan head Feng, you have to take care of yourself. You haven't become clan head yet. Leng Ruoxue kindly reminded. Damn it, go. Kill all of them. Feng Yun was angered to the extreme and directly ordered. Yes, Patriarch. All the phoenixes replied in unison as they stared intently at Leng Ruoxue and the others. Feng De, you guys don't need to watch the show anymore. Prepare to fight. Leng Ruoxue indifferently looked at Feng Yun and ordered. N. Feng De and the others hurriedly nodded. They had waited for this moment for a long time. Today, they could finally let loose. My citizens, all of you have to perform well as well. Feng Zhan said to all his clansmen. Even though this generation's patriarch of the Phoenix clan before him was also a member of the Phoenix clan, he wasn't able to sense the imperial bloodline in her at all. So, had determined that this old woman was only an ordinary phoenix. So, even if he really killed her, he wouldn't feel any pain in his heart. As for those phoenixes that assisted the wicked, they deserved even more death. They really were tired of living for daring to be arrogant in front of him. Yes, King. All of the phoenixes said in unison. After that, their phoenix eyes stared at Feng Yun and the other phoenixes with extreme hostility. King. Why do they call you King? You're quite bold, actually daring to call yourself King. Hearing this title, Feng Yun immediately acted as if he had found something that could be used against Feng Zhan, and loudly said. Idiot. Feng Zhan couldn't be bothered to explain to her, and directly shot a glance at his clansmen. After that, all of the phoenixes very tacitly locked onto their opponents. Oh. One-on-one they definitely wouldn't be able to defeat Feng Yun and the other beasts, but they had too many phoenixes. 1 against 5 they still had some left. Chief, their numbers are greater than ours. A phoenix said in a low voice, feeling a bit uneasy. Miserable screams could be heard from the battlefield. Feng De and the others, who had yet to make a move, became even more excited. Brothers, let's attack as well. After Feng De said that, he took the lead and charged into the battle, taking advantage of the situation. Woo! Why were the birds brought by this Phoenix clan's substitute clan heads so lousy? They hadn't even made a move, yet they were about to be killed by Feng Zhan's subordinates and the Silver Wolves. This wouldn't do. Charge! Lin Yuan and the rest shouted loudly to boost their morale. Then, they rushed in as well. What are you all doing? No one is allowed to scratch anymore, quickly get up and fight. Feng Yun, who was watching from the side, was so angry that his face was a bit dark. His pair of phoenix eyes glared fiercely at Leng Ruoxue. Unfortunately, because it was too itchy, none of her trusted subordinates paid attention to her. Devil, let's go play with Feng Yun. Leng Ruoxue suggested with a smile. Good. The freak spirit nodded, agreeing. He also felt that Feng Yun was too idle. Shuer, what about me? Leng Ruoxue and the freak were just about to find trouble with Feng Yun when they were stopped by the pitiful empty. Boo-hoo. He also wanted to find a bird to play with, but those birds were all split up by Shuer's subordinates and beastmen, so he was fine. Lass, why don't we do it together, the little old man suggested. Actually, his hands were itching. Master, there's still us. The Mei and the other beastmen hurriedly said. At the same time, they were still grumbling in their hearts. Feng Yun had brought too few birds. There was not enough to share. Miss, there's still us. Suddenly, a familiar voice interrupted. Chapter 724, Phoenix Forest, 2, you guys are finally willing to come out. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. Sigh. During this period of time, Chen Wu and the rest had been secretly following them. They really thought she didn't know. She just didn't expose them. Hee hee. I knew I couldn't hide it from Mississippi. Cheng Wu said with an embarrassed smile. Although Miss and the others had already left when they were sober, they had finally caught up with Miss when they were in Moonview City. However, because they were afraid that Miss would chase them back, they never dared to show themselves. Miss, I'm here too. Ningda said in embarrassment. The union has arranged everything. Leng Ruoxue said with some understanding. Yes, yes. Ningda nodded obediently. Do you all want to join in the fight against these phoenixes? Leng Ruoxue asked the advisor. Yes. We haven't praised the phoenix yet. Cheng Wu said excitedly. He was so excited. Hee hee, if they didn't want to participate in this grand occasion, they would continue to secretly follow Miss. Alright, then go beat up whoever you don't like. You're welcome. Leng Ruoxue said generously. Alright. Miss, don't worry about us. We will find our own entertainment. Song Di hurriedly said. Then, they all headed towards their target, Feng Yun, Shuer. They stole our opponent, the freak said with slight dissatisfaction. Humph. These people had made him the scapegoat in Moon-Gazing City. Now, they actually stole the enemy that he and Shuer had set their eyes on. This was too much. That's right. But, who asked this old woman to have such poor social relations? Leng Ruoxue gloated. After that, she resigned herself to fate and pulled the monstrous genius to the side to watch the battle. Boo-hoo. Feng Yun had brought over 30 phoenixes, and there were nearly 100 people including Cheng Wu and the others who had appeared later. There were even more beasts, so they didn't even have a chance to attack. I want to beat him up too. Empty whispered with tears in his eyes. Ah. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Leng Ruoxue's forehead. She thought in her heart, if you attack, then wouldn't her subordinates and beast men have fewer opportunities to train? So, you should just watch from the side. Oh. If they can't deal with you, then you're welcome to attack. Shuer. Empty said softly. Go beat up whoever you want. Leng Ruoxue said with a headache. Ha. Then I won't hold back. Without finishing speaking, he ran to the battlefield to cause trouble. Master, what about us? Charm could not help but take the lead and ask. Boo-hoo. How could they not have a chance to attack? How regretful was that? You guys go too. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. Thank you, Master. The demons and the other beast men immediately rushed toward the battlefield upon hearing this. At this moment, only Leng Ruoxue, the freak, the little old man, and Icy were in the audience. In an instant, the situation on the battlefield changed. Every single phoenix was surrounded by over 10 beasts, and they either utilized mystic techniques, grabbed, or bit. In short, there was nothing that one couldn't think of and couldn't see. On the other hand, Feng Yun was in an even more miserable state. She was surrounded by almost 30 mystic sovereigns, and not only was she unable to split herself apart, she was even attacked by various profound techniques from all directions. Her originally bright and beautiful clothes had already become tattered at this moment, and her hair was even more disheveled while her face was covered in bruises. Damn it, where did you all come from? Feng Yun saw that he was being besieged by more than 30 mystic sovereigns. He was furious. This was clearly bullying. You're the one who should die. You old hag. Song Di mimicked Feng Zhan. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Feng Yun was so angry that she was at a loss for words. Her ample chest was heaving up and down. Unfortunately, the man in front of her had turned a blind eye, and even, stupid old woman. You're already so old, why are you still wandering around? You're disgusting. Cheng Wu said viciously. Pfft. Feng Yun was angered to the point of vomiting blood. Her phoenix eyes fiercely glared at Cheng Wu, but he couldn't say anything. Boss. You're amazing, said one of the mystic sovereigns. Hee hee. It's no big deal. Old woman, don't look at me like that. I don't like you, Cheng Wu said angrily. Pfft. Pfft. Feng Yun was angered to the point of vomiting blood. But, he could only stare at Cheng Wu. Phoenix blood is also a good thing, don't waste it. The quick-witted Leng Ruoxue took out a jade bottle and caught Feng Yun's blood. Then, she said very frugally. Miss, give me the bottle. Cheng Wu said. Okay. After Leng Ruoxue said that, she threw the jade bottle towards Cheng Wu. After Cheng Wu caught the bottle, he maliciously smiled and took out a dagger. Then, he stabbed towards Feng Yun's body without any mercy. However, he never thought that he would actually stab into Feng Yun's butt. Ah! You're courting death. Feng Yun cried out, feeling endless pain. My family's young miss said that phoenix blood is a good thing, since you're going to die anyway, don't waste your blood. Cheng Wu said matter-of-factly. Hearing Cheng Wu's words, Feng Yun was both angry and in pain. But, she couldn't help but look at him with a vigilant expression, afraid that he would stab her in the back. At the same time, she had to guard against the sneak attacks of others. At this time, she could absolutely be considered to be facing enemies from both sides, impossible to defend against. Everyone, let's finish this quickly. Don't delay eating. Leng Ruoxue suddenly reminded as she looked at the sky. Leng Ruoxue's words were unanimously echoed by everyone. Thus, they were even more ruthless in their attacks. As for Feng Yun's side, they had been completely beaten up. The itching fans from before had already caused their attack power to greatly decrease, so their fighting spirit had also become increasingly low, and this scene greatly stimulated some people who were secretly watching from the shadows. Originally, because the difference in strength between the two sides was too great, many people didn't think highly of Leng Ruoxue's side. However, they never thought that Leng Ruoxue and the others would continue to abuse the clansmen that Feng Yun brought. Moreover, it was a one-sided battle. Boo-hoo. To most people, this kind of battle was unimaginable. Chapter 725, Phoenix Forest, 3, After a long time. The clansmen that Feng Yun brought no longer had the slightest bit of combat strength. All of them lay on the ground with wounds all over their bodies. As for Feng Yun, she was in an even more miserable state. The current her was no longer human, you're quite durable. Seeing that the battle was almost over, Leng Ruoxue came to Feng Yun's side and kicked her. Leng Ruoxue's kick was neither light nor heavy. However, it was this strength path kick that caused Feng Yun to turn back into his beast form. Do any of you want to contract this dying bird? Leng Ruoxue pointed at the dying Feng Yun. No. Everyone shook their heads like a rattle drum. No one was willing to take in Feng Yun, who had poor affinity. Oh. Then which one of you wants to contract these 30 over phoenixes? Leng Ruoxue looked at Feng De, Cheng Wu, and the others and asked. Young lady, Cheng Wu, and the others' beasts aren't very good. Why don't you give them a contract? Feng De and the others looked at each other before he spoke on behalf of everyone. No need, no need. It's better for you to sign a contract. This can increase your strength. Cheng Wu and the others quickly rejected. However, their hearts were warm. Boo-hoo, the people around Miss were all so understanding. Alright, you don't have to give way. This time, I made the decision to contract these 30-plus beasts for Cheng Wu and the others. Coincidentally, their numbers are about the same as yours. They were prepared for you. Ha! As for Feng De and the others, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future, Leng Ruoxue said fairly. In fact, she felt that Feng De and the others all had dragons, while Cheng Wu and the others' beasts were indeed lacking, so she decided to give them the beasts. Thank you, Mississippi. Cheng Wu and the others saw that their miss had made the decision, and no longer refused. They looked gratefully at Leng Ruoxue, Feng De, and the others. Wah! These were all transcendent divine beasts of the 8th and 9th ranks. And they were the strongest of the Phoenix clan. However, Miss and Fengde had chosen to give them to them without even blinking. How could they not be moved? We're on the same side, there's no need to stand on ceremony. Leng Ruoxue indifferently replied. Ever since she guessed that they had followed her here, she knew that these people had already made up their minds to follow her. Furthermore, she was more and more satisfied with Cheng Wu and the rest. Hence, she no longer had the intention to reject them. After speaking, Leng Ruoxue stored the 30-plus phoenixes into her bracelet, leaving Feng Yun alone outside. Humph! She wasn't stupid enough to tame these beast men in front of those hidden eyes. The current her was already in the limelight, so it was better to keep a low profile. What should we do with Feng Yun? Leng Ruoxue looked at the big red bird lying on the ground. Master, of course we kill it. Feng Zhan hurriedly suggested. He didn't have a good impression of this old woman, so he naturally didn't care about this fellow's life. Blackie. Can you eat this bird? Leng Ruoxue looked at the black python lying on the ground. Yes. The black python nodded as it looked at Feng Yun, who was around its size. Then eat it. Maybe you can advance to a 9th level transcendent divine beasts. Leng Ruoxue thought for a moment and said. Oh, killing Feng Yun would be a bit wasteful, so it would be better to give her beast some nourishment. After all, this phoenix meat was one of the best supplements. Thank you, Master, but I don't think it's a good idea for me to eat alone, the black python said in embarrassment. It's okay, hurry and eat. Leng Ruoxue urged. Yeah. Boss, hurry up and eat. All the pythons echoed. Last time, the 2 phoenix bosses did not eat much. Since there was such an opportunity this time, they naturally did not want boss to let it go. That's right. Quickly eat. Feng Zhan roared impatiently. All right then. The black python wriggled its way to Feng Yun's side. Then, it opened its huge mouth and swallowed Feng Yun whole. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue kept all the beast into her bracelet and led everyone into the shop. In the guest room, Leng Ruoxue brought Fengde, Cheng Wu, and the others into the bracelet. Inside, she tamed the 30 or so phoenixes that she had brought in. After that, she instructed Cheng Wu and the others to sign a master-servant contract with them. Afterwards, she led everyone on their way. As Leng Ruoxue and the others had left stealthily, the Shadow League did not receive any news. Hence, when they tried to approach Leng Ruoxue the next day, it was already too late. The room was already empty. They left without saying goodbye, causing the higher-ups of the Shadow League to almost vomit blood. And at this time, the news of Leng Ruoxue and the others taking care of the Phoenix clan had already spread throughout the boundless heaven continent. For a time, the various parties were in an uproar and did not react uniformly 3 days later. Leng Ruoxue and the others had once again stolen the limelight. They didn't know how shocking their actions were, but they had come to the territory of the Phoenix clan in an extremely low-profile manner. And their purpose in coming to the Phoenix clan was naturally to subdue the Phoenix clan. In truth, Leng Ruoxue was also afraid that the people of the Phoenix clan would cause trouble for her in order to take revenge for Feng Yun, so she decided to strike first to gain the upper hand. After all, she didn't like being remembered by others. Outside the Phoenix clan's territory. Feng Miao, does your clan live here? Leng Ruoxue asked as she looked at the inconspicuous grove. Ah. Yes, this place is called Phoenix Forest, and it was chosen by the seniors of the Phoenix clan. It's far away from the sphere of influence of humans, and it's both quiet and undisturbed. So, for thousands of years, our Phoenix clan has always lived here. Feng Miao explained. Alas. After being away from home for so many days, she had finally returned. To be honest, she was actually a little timid. After all, when she left back then, she mostly wanted to escape. Then let's go in. I can't wait to see how this realm Phoenix clan is doing. Leng Ruoxue said very curiously. Ah. Then let's go. Feng Miao said helplessly. After saying that, she walked in front of Leng Ruoxue and the others, leading them into the Phoenix Forest. Even though there were many trees planted outside the Phoenix Forest, those trees were obviously not parasol trees. The deeper one went into the Phoenix Forest, the more one could feel the scorching fire attribute spiritual chi inside. Master, the fire attribute spiritual chi here is quite dense. It's not a bad place even though it can't be compared to the Phoenix nest I used to live in. Feng Zhan, who was standing on Leng Ruoxue's shoulder, commented. Chapter 726, Phoenix Forest, 4N. It looks quite ordinary from the outside, but inside, it does look like a place where phoenixes reside. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Stop right there. Feng Miao, how dare you bring a human back to the Phoenix Forest without permission? All of a sudden, a delicate voice sounded in Leng Ruoxue and the others' ears. Hearing this shout, Leng Ruoxue and the others couldn't help but look at Feng Miao, while Feng Miao's face turned red from their slightly teasing gaze. Ah! Ignore her. Let's go in. Feng Miao said helplessly. Sigh. There were some self-righteous people in the Feng clan, their levels were obviously not high, but they always felt that they were superior to others. Okay, if you say so, then so be it. Leng Ruoxue gave Feng Miao face and said, then they continued to follow Feng Miao. Seeing that she couldn't stop Leng Ruoxue and the others, the voice angrily appeared in front of them. Stop right there. You're not allowed to go any further. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. A beautiful woman with a sexy figure shouted. How do you want to be impolite? Leng Ruoxue's beautiful eyes lightly swept over the beautiful woman in front of her and asked curiously. Oh, this fire phoenix wouldn't think that it could do anything to them just because it had the strength of a rank 2 transcendent divine beast, right? Or was it that she was very confident in the few escorts behind her? If you take another step forward, it'll make you regret it. The woman spoke with confidence. Ha! Leng Ruoxue laughed lightly, as if she had heard something funny. Then, she turned to Feng Miao and said, Feng Miao, is this how all the members of the Feng clan behave? According to Leng Ruoxue's knowledge, the hierarchy of the beast world was very strict. Furthermore, it placed great importance on bloodline. But the Phoenix clan in the boundless heaven continent that she saw was just like those clans in the human world. Inside, it was filled with mutual deception and scheming. Sigh. Compared to her own cute and simple beasts, she was disappointed in the Phoenix clan in this world. Otherwise, she would not only let Cheng Wu and the others sign master-servant contracts with those captives. Miss, Feng Miao didn't know what to say. In fact, the Phoenix clan in the past wasn't like this. However, ever since Feng Yun became the previous clan head, the atmosphere in the clan had changed. Thus, many phoenixes who looked down on Feng Yun chose to go into seclusion out of helplessness. Sigh. Wasn't this also a manifestation of avoiding responsibility? Little Meow Meow. Even though the dog blocked the way, you still have to think of a way to bring us in. Feng Zhan reminded. Feng Miao nodded. Then, with a light raise of an arm, she sent Feng Linger and the others who were blocking her way into the distance, directly giving way. Plop! Plop! Following a few loud sounds, Feng Linger and the others fell to the ground. She widened her phoenix eyes in disbelief and glared at Feng Miao. Feng Miao, how dare you treat me like this? How dare you? Feng Linger, didn't the first elder teach you what respect and seniority is? You're only a second-level transcendent divine beast, yet you actually dare to be impudent in front of me. You really don't know the meaning of death. Feng Miao questioned loudly. The aura of an expert on her body was instantly displayed, and the pressure of her bloodline made Feng Linger and the others unable to breathe. If it was in the past, perhaps Feng Miao would have ignored their provocation. However, it was different now. Since she had already abandoned the dark and toured to the light, these Phoenix clan members could only be considered passers-by or enemies before Miss subdued them. Therefore, there was naturally no need for him to be polite to them. Feng Miao, you're just a traitor of the Phoenix clan. How dare you cause trouble in the territory of the Phoenix clan? I think you're the one who doesn't know the difference between life and death. Feng Linger wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and said indignantly. Humph. If it was in the past, she would really be a little afraid of Feng Miao, much less speak to her like this. However, ever since Feng Miao was deemed a traitor by the clan leader, many of the clan members who had once been jealous of Feng Miao felt that there was no need to be afraid of her anymore. Otherwise, how would she dare to stop Feng Miao? Patriarch? Didn't the first elder tell you that Feng Yun is already dead? Feng Miao asked with a faint smile. Hee, I really didn't expect that big black python to be so hardworking. After eating Feng Yun, it actually advanced to become a level 9 super divine beast. This is definitely good news for them. Not only that, before that big black python advanced, Miss even made it sign a life contract with Feng Moran. And Feng Moran also advanced to become a mystic sovereign because of the big black python's advancement. What? How is this possible? Feng Linger and the others were stunned. It took them a long time to recover from their shock. What's impossible about it? You'll eventually die if you get older. Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. Then, she released a trace of green profound energy from her fingertips and tied Feng Linger and the others into dumplings. Leng Ruoxue looked at Feng Linger and the others with dissatisfaction. She couldn't help but complain, these phoenixes are too weak. Why don't they eat meat? Her standards were getting higher and higher. She didn't plan to let her subordinates contract the transcendent divine beasts below level 7, and the highest level of these phoenixes was only level 5. However, she didn't want to slowly raise them. Oh, it was really difficult. Leng Ruoxue's brows were knitted together in a dilemma. Swear, even though you despise them, others will treat them as good stuff. Why don't you tame them and sell them? With their status and strength, they can definitely be sold for a good price, suggested Wu Qing with a smile. Master, this won't do. Even though I don't like them, they're still members of the Phoenix clan. How could they fall into the hands of another? So, you should just kill them. Feng Zhan hurriedly stopped him. Oh, what it meant was that since Master didn't like them, then they could only be killed. In short, they couldn't fall into the hands of an outsider. And, then let's kill it and eat it. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head. Oh, she always said she wanted to eat a phoenix, but this goal had never been achieved. In reality, a phoenix was just a big-sized turkey. It didn't matter, she couldn't help but comfort herself. Actually, she could not bring herself to say anything about a beast that could already transform into a human form. Hence, she could only say something. Sob. Why was she so kind? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBoxNovel. Thanks. Chapter 727, Miss, do I smell? 1. Master, kill these phoenixes and leave their blood. Let those pythons eat the meat. Charm lying in Leng Ruoxue's arms suggested. Boo-hoo, it was the same as Master. It didn't like to eat beasts that could take human form. Its meat would grow old. Charm's suggestion is not bad. Leng Ruoxue stroked Charm's soft fur and agreed. Charm is really understanding. How dare you? Feng Linger almost vomited blood when she heard Leng Ruoxue and the others' discussion. However, her body was tied up too tightly, so she couldn't resist even if she wanted to. However, she believed in the strength of the Phoenix clan. At the same time, she didn't believe Feng Miao's words. In short, she was very certain that these humans wouldn't dare to touch them. Moreover, these damned humans dared to treat them like this. She would definitely teach them a lesson later. What's there to be afraid of? I've already eaten Feng Yun for my own beast, let alone you weak little phoenixes. Sigh. It's not even enough to fill the gaps between my beast's teeth. Leng Ruoxue said in disdain. You're lying. The clan head is powerful, how could he be eaten by your beast? Feng Linger was still unconvinced. Linger, what she said might very well be true. At this moment, a young man who was also tied up spoke softly. How did you know? Feng Linger ignored Leng Ruoxue and the others and asked directly. When I went to the elder conference yesterday, I accidentally heard those elders say that the patriarch's soul tablet had already shattered. None of the other clansmen that the patriarch took away returned. However, their lives shouldn't be in danger, the young man explained. You all really killed the clan chief? Feng Linger did not believe the words of Leng Ruoxue and the others, but she had no choice but to believe the words of her guardian angel. She knew very well that these people would not dare to say anything to her. So, after knowing that it was most likely true, she became a bit afraid. Of course, only Feng Yun died. The other phoenixes were all contracted by my subordinates. After all, with their strength, it's not bad to be a meat shield or something like that. But you guys. Your strength is too low. You don't even have the chance to be a hired thug, you can only be my beast's snack. Leng Ruoxue said with a wicked smile. No. I don't want to die. Don't eat me. I'm willing to be your slave. I'll do anything as long as you don't eat me. Suddenly, a young man begged with tears in his eyes. Boo-hoo. He felt that he was only standing behind Feng Linger and wasn't disrespecting these people. So, he didn't want to die. But, your strength is too low, it really doesn't have much use to us. Leng Ruoxue didn't like these little phoenixes at all. Humph. Who asked her to hate this kind of second generation who relied on their power to bully others? I'm willing to be a slave and a slave, as long as you're willing to let me live. The young man continued begging. Oh, Feng Zhan. This fellow is the most sensible phoenix clan I've ever seen. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped from Leng Ruoxue's forehead as she said speechlessly. Oh, this was the first time she'd seen such a cowardly phoenix clan. Today, her horizons had been broadened. Master, since this fellow wants to work like a slave, then hand him over to me for a good round of training. Feng Zhan laughed evilly. All right then. Feng Zhan, let him learn our rules. Leng Ruoxue waved her hand and the young man was released from his restraints. On the other hand, Feng Zhan flew over to the young man and chanted a few incantations. After that, the young man's eyes flashed before he bowed respectfully to Feng Zhan. Greetings, Your Majesty. Report the situation within the Phoenix clan to my master. Feng Zhan commanded. Earlier, had utilized a contract that only the members of the royal clan of the Phoenix clan knew about, and it could be considered a form of contract between master and servant. This sort of contract was usually utilized to restrain the members of the side branches of the Phoenix clan. After all, there were many branches in the Phoenix clan, and no one could guarantee that every side branch would be loyal to the Imperial clan. At the time, his queen mother had been too trusting of those branches, and that was why she'd ended up being sealed. Now, he naturally wouldn't give these side branches any chance to betray her. Yes, Your Majesty. The young man nodded, and then continued. 3 days ago, Feng Yun took away a group of phoenixes and said that he wanted to avenge his daughter and son-in-law. However, he hasn't returned until now, and Feng Lin said that Feng Yun has already died. However, most of the clansmen still don't know about her death. As for the elders, they've always closed their doors and refused to see any of my clansmen. Tell me about the current strength of the Phoenix clan, Feng Zhan said with dissatisfaction. Sigh. This servant was just too stupid to say anything useless. Right now, in the Phoenix clan, besides the elders of the Council of Elders, a portion of the other clansmen are level 7 or 8 transcendent divine beasts. However, most of them are level 4 or 5 like me. The man continued to explain. Many of the Phoenix clan's powerful transcendent divine beasts had been taken away by Feng Yun 3 days ago. Therefore, the strongest people in the Phoenix clan should be the elders of the Council of Elders. They were basically level 8 or 9 transcendent divine beasts. Of course, he didn't count those who had been sleeping. Damn it, why do you keep saying useless things? Feng Zhan couldn't bear it anymore and roared. He really doubted the intelligence of this servant of his. One had to know that they had already heard these situations from Feng Miao. Did he still need to repeat them? Boo-hoo. The man was extremely aggrieved, but that was all he knew. Feng Zhan, don't ask him anymore. Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless. Sigh. This Feng's strength was too low. It was impossible to rely on him to know the core secrets of the Phoenix clan, and Feng Miao only cared about cultivation and didn't care much about the matters of the Phoenix clan, so it seemed it was impossible to hear anything useful from them. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Umo a little. The Elder Conference is like a bird that was startled by the twang of a bow. The young man, Feng Lin, who was the first to speak, also spoke up. Boo-hoo. As the saying goes, those who know the truth are the elites. If one could survive, no one would want to be eaten. Therefore, after thinking for a long time, he wisely decided to surrender. Tell me about it. If you satisfy me, I won't give you to the beast as a snack. Leng Ruoxue enticed like a big wolf trying to abduct Little Red Riding Hood. Chapter 728, Miss, Am I Stinky? 2. That day, when I went to the Elder Conference, I unintentionally heard them say that Feng Yun had died. Furthermore, the Elder Conference has divided into 2 opinions. Those who have a good relationship with Feng Yun are in favor of avenging her. The other person is proposing to choose a new generation patriarch. Currently, they are in a deadlock. Feng Lin thought for a moment before speaking. Other people, why don't you agree to take revenge? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. Oh, I heard the Feng clan is very united. They don't like Feng Yun. Those clansmen are almost all elders left behind by the patriarch, so. Feng Lin looked at Feng Miao and hesitated to speak. Oh, Feng Miao, I'll give you a task. Get those clansmen who are dissatisfied with Feng Yun for me. If they know what's good for them, I will definitely not treat them badly. Otherwise, they can only be servants. Leng Ruoxue instructed. Oh, since the Feng clan is not on good terms, this is a good opportunity for them. Miss, I'm not very familiar with them. Feng Miao said with some difficulty. Other than cultivation, socializing was her weakness. Woo. So it's like that. That Feng Lin, right? I'll give you a chance to make a contribution. Whether or not you can catch him will depend on yourself. Leng Ruoxue furrowed her brows in thought, then pointed at the young man. Please rest assured, Mississippi. I will definitely cooperate with Feng Miao to do this. Feng Lin hurriedly promised. Your Majesty, I can cooperate as well. Feng Zhan's new servant also hurriedly expressed his opinion. Boo-hoo. It was really too unfair. Why was Feng Lin's treatment so different from his? Feng Zhan, take that Feng Lin as your subordinate. Leng Ruoxue raised her hand, and Feng Lin was released from his restraints. All right, master. After Feng Zhan said that, he also recited a few incantations. Humph. The Feng clan in the vast heaven continent still couldn't believe it too much. Better safe than sorry. Greetings, Your Majesty, Feng Lin said respectfully. Yes, all of you heard what my master said, right? Quickly go do this. Feng Zhan glanced at his servant and Feng Lin. Yes, the two of them replied extremely politely. After signing the contract with Feng Zhan, they did not dare to show any disrespect to him. Miss, I'll bring you guys to my place first. Feng Miao saw that she had helpers and felt relieved. She then said to Leng Ruoxue and the others. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Then, she followed Feng Miao deeper into the phoenix forest. Feng Linger and the other two men were still tied up. Not only that, Leng Ruoxue also summoned Big Harry and Air Mao. The two of them carried the three men and walked in together. After walking for about half an hour, Leng Ruoxue and the others arrived at a forest filled with parasol trees. Little Miao Miao, is this where you live? Feng Zhan couldn't help but ask curiously as he looked at the incomparably huge and luxuriant towering trees in front of him. Oh, their clan's habit was to use the number of sycamore trees to determine their position in the clan. Since Feng Miao was able to live in a place with so many sycamore trees, her position in the clan was definitely 1 to 2. Ah. No, to be more precise, Feng Miao was able to live here because of her mother. After all, her mother was the head of the clan. And, this is the residence of our clan's clan chief. Was able to live here because I borrowed mother's light. Feng Miao said with a bit of self-mockery. This was the place with the densest fire attribute spiritual energy in the Phoenix Forest, and also the residence of their Phoenix clan's previous clan chief. Feng Yun had wanted to live here more than once, but unfortunately, he had never succeeded. Who asked Feng Yun to only be the substitute clan chief? The parasol trees here didn't recognize her identity. Oh, only the clan leader can live here. Then will we not be allowed to enter these trees? Feng De asked worriedly. These parasol trees that had lived for a long time basically all had tree spirits, and they were not familiar with them. If they were really rejected outside the trees, wouldn't it be very embarrassing? They won't. With me leading you, they will let you through. Feng Miao chuckled. Then, she said a few words in the phoenix language to the parasol trees, and they automatically opened up a path for her. Hee hee. They're really obedient. Feng De said excitedly. Feng De, don't embarrass yourself, alright? It's not like you haven't seen those sycamore trees that I live in. Feng Zhan spoke with slight speechlessness. The Phoenix clan and the sycamore trees were companions, so as long as they allowed it, the sycamore trees naturally wouldn't refuse. So, it was normal for these trees to let them pass. Hee hee. The trees you live in have never stopped us. That's why I'm curious. Vonda scratched his head and said in embarrassment. Ha! Let's go in. Feng Miao snickered. The people around the young miss were really too cute, much cuter than some people of the Feng clan. N. Leng Ruoxue and the others nodded and followed Feng Miao in. After they entered, the road behind them returned to normal and disappeared. Miss, it's so hot here. Peach Lu wiped the sweat off her forehead and said, unable to bear it. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. And, this place is filled with fire attribute spiritual energy. If you aren't fire attribute, you will naturally feel hot, Leng Ruoxue analyzed. Miss, you guys can stay here as you wish. I'll go talk to those people with them first. After Feng Miao brought Leng Ruoxue and the others into her own residence, she left them alone. Hee hee, because she knew very well that Miss and the others would take good care of her. Go. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head, then turned to the thickest Chinese parasol tree and ordered, tie these 3 people to your tree trunk. Don't let them escape. The giant tree nodded its head and shook its branches. Then, it extended a branch that was as thick as an adult's arm and firmly tied Feng Linger and the others to its trunk. Wow! Miss, you're so amazing, this tree actually listens to you. Green Bamboo looked at Leng Ruoxue with admiration, her bright eyes were filled with stars. Needless to say, even these trees can't resist our young Miss Charm, Feng De said matter-of-factly. The others nodded their heads in agreement. It was obvious that their admiration for Leng Ruoxue had reached an unattainable height. Chapter 729, Miss, do I smell? 3. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Leng Ruoxue's forehead, and her beautiful face was filled with speechlessness. Sigh. Her subordinates were too exaggerated. If outsiders heard these words, they would definitely laugh at them. In reality, she only had a slight connection with that tree, she really didn't do anything. Actually, this was something Leng Ruoxue did not know. Her natural affinity, regardless of whether it was to animals or plants, was extremely attractive. Otherwise, the king of plants like Little Fire Ginseng and Little Fire Ginseng would not like her so much, and these trees were the same. After all, almost all of them had a tree spirit, so Leng Ruoxue's attraction to them was no less than that of the Phoenix clan, which had always depended on them. In fact, it seemed to be stronger. Hence, they could not reject Leng Ruoxue's request. Damn it, you traitors of the Phoenix clan. How dare you listen to those humans and treat us like this? Feng Linger was furious when she saw that she was tied to a tree trunk by a Chinese parasol tree. Damn it. Who said that these trees were the best friends of the Phoenix clan? They were obviously lying to children. If they were really friends of the Phoenix clan, would these dead trees treat her like this? In fact, she had really wronged these trees. The sycamore trees were indeed the best friends of the Phoenix clan, but no one could replace them. And now, someone who made the sycamore trees feel closer to them had suddenly appeared. That was why the sycamore trees listened to Leng Ruoxue. After all, they were very simple tree spirits who only knew how to respect the thoughts in their hearts. Big Harry, shut her mouth. Leng Ruoxue couldn't stand it any longer. Feng Linger had acted quite obediently before entering this place. Sigh. In such a short amount of time, this woman could no longer continue acting. Yes, miss. Big Harry obediently walked over to Feng Linger and the other two who were tied up on the tree trunk. It was in a difficult position. Oh. What should it use? It didn't have anything suitable on hand. Don't you dare. You stinky dead bear, stay away from me. Feng Linger couldn't help but shout loudly. The smell of these two bears was just too unbearable. She didn't want to faint from the smell. It turned out that the reason why Feng Linger didn't say a word along the way wasn't because she was pretending to be obedient. Rather, it was because she had been affected by the two hairy beasts' scent. Smelly? Where? Big Harry was stunned and asked in confusion. It stinks everywhere. Every part of my body stinks. Feng Linger roared in anger. Moreover, the bear was too close to her, making her feel a bit dizzy. Miss, do I stink? Big Harry's eyes were filled with tears as it turned its head and asked pitifully. It doesn't smell bad. This is the embodiment of your masculinity. Leng Ruoxue quickly comforted him. Actually, the two hairy beasts loved cleanliness and would wash themselves clean every day. However, the natural smell couldn't be washed away just by bathing. After smelling it for so long, they had already gotten used to it. That was why they didn't find the two hairy beasts smelt unpleasant. In fact, Feng Linger's words were a little exaggerated. Compared to other bear-type beasts, the two hairy beasts' smell was negligible. That's right, Big Harry, don't listen to the nonsense of this crow bird. How would she understand the good of men? Feng De and the others also comforted him. The two hairy beasts was one of them, and definitely wouldn't allow outsiders to bully him. And, that's right, Big Harry. Don't listen to the nonsense of outsiders, quickly shut her mouth. Empty also reminded. Okay. Big Harry was very touched. Woo. He knew that Miss and the rest would definitely not despise him. Humph. This woman was really too evil. Thinking of this, he looked around to see if there was anything suitable to shut that annoying woman's mouth. I got it. Big Harry smiled when he found his target. Then, he quickly stripped off the clothes of a man who was tied to a tree trunk. He then found something that he thought was suitable and stuffed it into Feng Linger's mouth. When Leng Ruoxue and the others saw this, black lines appeared on their foreheads at the same time. They thought to themselves, Big Harry is really getting more and more two-faced. he actually used that person's underwear to cover Feng Linger's mouth. When Feng Linger saw this scene, she directly fainted. Oh, this time it was definitely a gas drip. Miss, how did I do? Big Harry scratched its head and smiled. Ah. It's not bad. Leng Ruoxua braced herself and said. She didn't dare to say it was good, in case Big Harry developed a bad habit of taking off other people's clothes. After settling Feng Linger and the other two down, Leng Ruoxua and the others found a place to rest. Some of them found it hot and requested to enter the space, while others stayed outside out of curiosity. After a long time, Feng Miao came back full of joy. Miss, I'm back. Feng Miao walked into the parasol tree forest and said loudly. Feng Lin came back with her. What did those birds say? Leng Ruoxua, who was leaning against the freak's chest, asked indifferently with half-closed eyes. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Miss, those elders promised to consider it. Feng Miao could not help but say with some self-satisfaction. To think that those elders gave her face and did not directly reject her. After all, the Phoenix clan did not like to acknowledge humans as their masters. Think about it. Leng Ruoxua said with slight displeasure. She knew those old fogies wouldn't agree so easily. However, she had a bad habit. When she took the initiative, if the other party didn't grasp the opportunity, then she wouldn't give the other party another chance. Thinking of this, she turned to Feng Lin and said, Go tell those ignorant birds that I won't beg them to acknowledge me as their master. However, I'll only give them 3 days to consider. I won't wait. Yes, Feng Lin hurriedly replied. Alas! He knew that the king's master wouldn't be satisfied. However, he was slightly puzzled as well. Why didn't the king allow them to reveal its identity? If those traditional and conservative elders knew that the king was a member of the royal clan, they would definitely agree. Unfortunately, the king didn't allow them to say anything. After receiving Leng Ruoxua's order, Feng Lin turned around and left. Feng Miao, you guys go and rest first. Leng Ruoxua said. Chapter 730, Holding Out Hope Until Faced with the Grim Reality, 1, Yes, Mississippi. Feng Miao was a little upset. After seeing Leng Ruoxua's reaction, she knew Miss wasn't satisfied with what she did. After Feng Miao heard Leng Ruoxua's words, she went back to her own place gloomily. Shuer, didn't you already expect such an outcome? After Feng Miao left, Wu Qing smiled and said. In fact, he was very clear about the mentality of those high-end beasts. How could those arrogant fellows be willing to be contracted by humans? Therefore, unless there were sufficient benefits, those beast men that had almost been assimilated by humans would not easily agree. Actually, it's good that they don't agree. I can practice now. Leng Ruoxua smiled. Previously, when she asked Feng Miao to negotiate, it was just to be polite before resorting to force. In reality, she didn't care about the result at all. That's right. There are so many phoenixes in the Phoenix clan. I can beat them up to my heart's content. Wu Shang smiled. And, I've never beaten up a phoenix before, the freak said half-jokingly. Miss, didn't you give them 3 days to think about it? What if they agree? Zheng En couldn't stand it any longer and reminded her. Sigh. Half a day had not even passed and Miss and company were already discussing how to beat up those phoenixes. Those unlucky phoenixes were really too pitiful. They were actually targeted by Mississippi. With this in mind, he felt some pity for those firebirds. Don't worry, those noble phoenixes with a sense of superiority will not agree. Oh, Zheng En, when the time comes, I will also get you a level 9 super divine beast to be your servant. Leng Ruoxua guaranteed. The Phoenix clan had so many clansmen, so her subordinates should be enough to split them. Even though those phoenixes were a little tactless, she was still very satisfied with their numbers. Even though the Phoenix clan in this world did not have as many clansmen as Feng Zhan, there were nearly 1,000 of them. Miss, I don't need a level 9 one. I'm already very satisfied with a level 8 transcendent divine beast. My biggest wish now is to advance to Mystic Sovereign. Boo-hoo. Mo Ran clearly cultivated as a mystic cultivator later than me, but he's already a mystic sovereign, Zheng En said enviously. Ah. Don't be anxious. Aren't you going to advance soon? Leng Ruoxua hurriedly consoled. Sigh. Big brother Feng was just lucky. Coincidentally, there was a beast that advanced to the 9th level transcendent divine beasts. Otherwise, Big brother Feng would also need some time to advance. Yes, soon. I can feel the barrier now, but am still lacking an opportunity. Zheng En nodded. Silly boy, eat more of the spiritual fruits in the space. When the spiritual aura is saturated, you'll naturally advance, suggested the little old man who was listening to their conversation. Master, I eat it every day. But I really can't eat it now. Zheng En said with a bitter face. Boo. I can't stand eating too many spirit fruits. Zheng En, the fire attribute here is very dense. Cultivate well for the next few days. You might be able to advance in 3 days, Leng Ruoxua reminded. Ah. For fire attribute mystic cultivators, this place could absolutely be considered heaven. Furthermore, not everyone could cultivate in the Phoenix clan's territory. Miss, actually, I prefer to cultivate in space, Zheng En said honestly. Even though the fire attribute's spiritual energy here could be directly absorbed without changing into one's own attribute, the spiritual energy here was not as dense as in Miss Space. Then enter the space. 3 days later, we will have another battle. Leng Ruoxua said calmly. Hee, Miss, I must participate in the battle in 3 days. Zheng En requested. He had not had enough fun fighting the Phoenix clan last time. Don't worry. There were too few Feng clan members last time. This time, all of you will have a chance. Leng Ruoxua smiled and promised. Girl, you can't leave this old man behind. The little old man quickly said. His expression was extremely nervous, as if he was afraid Leng Ruoxua would forget about him. Yes. Don't worry, Grandpa Do, we are now at the base camp of the Phoenix clan. There are many phoenixes here, Leng Ruoxua promised. Amen, the people present nodded repeatedly. 3 days passed quickly. For the past 3 days, Zheng En had been cultivating diligently in the space. 3 days later, when Zheng En came out of the space, he finally became a mystic sovereign as he wished. Congratulations. Leng Ruoxua looked at Zheng En, who had just had his breakthrough, and said happily. Har. She had another mystic sovereign by her side. Their strength had increased again. Thank you, Miss, Zheng En said happily. In the past, his focus was on alchemy, which was why his cultivation as a mystic cultivator advanced so slowly. However, he was finally a mystic sovereign now. Boo-hoo. I'm so happy. Ha. The higher your strength, the happier I am. This way, you guys can protect me. Leng Ruoxua said with a face full of anticipation. Ah. It feels pretty good to be a manager who does nothing. Miss. Zheng En was a little speechless. Sigh. Miss is being unreasonable again. He really couldn't do anything to her. Actually, he really wanted to say that they could protect her now. Even though there weren't many people around Miss, they were all elites in his eyes. Especially Cheng Wu and the others, all of them were mystic sovereign. In addition to Miss terrifying beasts, before others wanted to bully his Miss, they'd better weigh their own worth first. Ha! Leng Ruoxua laughed awkwardly. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Oh, Mystic Sovereign. When can I reach that level? At this moment, Feng De looked at Zheng En, his eyes shining with envy as he muttered to himself. Don't be anxious. You will also make a breakthrough soon. Zheng En also used the same words to comfort Feng De and the others. The event even advanced yet, why are you guys so anxious? Leng Ruoxua glared and pretended to be unhappy. Young miss. Didn't you just say that the stronger we are, the more we can protect you? Feng De rolled his eyes and reminded. That's right. When your strength becomes stronger, I will be able to wash my hands off everything and focus on being a rice worm. Leng Ruoxua's beautiful face was filled with expectation. Shuer, don't you want to be an expert? A worm can't become an expert. Empty reminded helplessly. TCH, what I mean is that after I become strong, I can focus on being a rice worm. I didn't say now. Leng Ruoxua quibbled. Chapter 731, Holding Out Hope Until Faced with the Grim Reality, 2, after we all become experts above everyone else, Shuer just needs to be a rice worm. I will feed Shuer every day, the freak promised. Hee. You are still the most obedient, Leng Ruoxua said in satisfaction. Then, she patted the freak's head like she was petting a puppy. That's for sure. The freak almost raised his tail from the praise. Oh, okay, let's get down to business. Leng Ruoxua cleared her throat and stopped joking with them. Miss, when are we going to make a move? Cheng Wu asked impatiently. He knew that Miss had given those phoenixes 3 days to consider, but now, 3 days had passed. However, those phoenixes who didn't keep their promises didn't give them any reply. Miss being willing to accept them was because she thought highly of them. Those dead birds really didn't know what was good for them. Ever since he found out about the Miss Mysterious Space, Cheng Wu and the others' respect for Leng Ruoxua had risen to a whole new level. Moreover, he would never forget the shock he felt when he first saw the space. He had never thought that he could still live in a space similar to the storage ring. Moreover, the spirit chi inside was so dense that it was almost solid. Sigh. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to beat up those suicidal firebirds, he wouldn't even be willing to come out from inside. Right away, Leng Ruoxua said with a light smile. In her heart, she sighed helplessly. Sigh. These battle maniacs. As soon as they heard that there was going to be a fight, they actually couldn't wait any longer. However, for the past 3 days, the Phoenix clan hadn't been peaceful. Their arrival had attracted the attention of the elders who were on good terms with Feng Yun. Furthermore, those phoenixes had tried to barge in more than once to avenge Feng Yun. Unfortunately, they were all blocked outside by the parasol tree. Should we go out now? Feng De asked. He knew that there was a phoenix monitoring outside their residence. However, the young lady did not give any orders, so the person monitoring them was naturally ignored. Let's go out. Leng Ruoxua nodded and said to everyone. All right. Everyone agreed excitedly. They were already prepared. They were just waiting for Miss Order. Leng Ruoxua was very satisfied with everyone's high spirits. Then, she sent a voice transmission to the parasol trees that had been protecting them from the outside world for the past 3 days. After receiving the order, the parasol trees revealed their path. After Leng Ruoxua and the others walked out of their residence along the small path, they saw the phoenix guarding outside the forest. There were a total of 5 phoenixes monitoring them. Seeing them come out, one of them immediately went back to report, while the other 4 looked at them very vigilantly. These phoenixes weren't very strong, about level 4 or 5. Leng Ruoxua looked at the serious expressions on their faces and held back her smile. She said lightly, "Are you the bodyguards arranged by the Phoenix clan? Thank you for your hard work." Ah. The phoenixes that were about 10 meters away from Leng Ruoxua and the others were depressed. Boo-hoo. The Phoenix clan does not welcome you. We are here to monitor you. Unfortunately, None of them dared to say this because they were afraid that they would become hostages like Feng Linger. Little Phoenix, I think you guys are quite smart. Oh. Do you guys want to surrender yourselves, or do you want me to use force? Leng Ruoxua asked in a good mood. Even though the Phoenix clan had been playing tricks on her for the past 3 days, she still had to thank these firebirds for finding fun for her. Otherwise, she would definitely be bored. Moreover, almost all of the sycamore trees in the Phoenix forest had been turned against her. Hee hee. Didn't those phoenixes want to capture her? Then she would have no choice but to steal from the Phoenix clan. As long as she gave the order, these Phoenix clans would become the first Phoenix clan in history to be abandoned by the sycamore trees. Of course, those poor phoenixes still didn't know about this. After hearing Leng Ruoxua's words, the phoenixes were dumbfounded. However, most of them did not know what to do because they had never seen such a confident human being. One had to know that this was the territory of the Phoenix clan. However, these humans had the attitude of turning the guest into the host, as if they were the guests. Boo-hoo, how could this be? They could not understand. There won't be a shop like this after we pass this village. Leng Ruoxua continued to tempt Little Red Riding Hood, as if she was a big bad wolf trying to seduce Little Red Riding Hood. Surrender. The youngest phoenix said in a low voice. Boo-hoo. For some reason, this human gave it a lot of pressure. It was even greater than the tribe leader. Furthermore, its idol, Feng Miao, was also with this human, that was why it wanted to surrender. You are very smart, Leng Ruoxua praised. Lamb also willing to surrender. The other phoenixes couldn't hold on any longer and announced their own decisions one after another after someone took the lead. Boo-hoo. They had already heard that Feng Yun Patriarch had died at the hands of these humans. And they weren't willing to die like Feng Yun, so they could only surrender. Just like that, under the wise decision of these phoenixes, Leng Ruoxua effortlessly subdued these phoenixes that were not very strong and handed them over to the Feng Zhan to contract. As for Feng Zhan, who had the most underlings, he naturally wouldn't refuse such a good thing. By the time the first elder of the Phoenix clan arrived with her clansmen, the people she had sent to keep an eye on Leng Ruoxua had already become Leng Ruoxua's property. When she saw what had happened, she almost vomited blood. She cursed inwardly. Damn, these humans were really fast. It had only been a few minutes. Her clansmen had no backbone. Humph. You humans who don't know life from death, quickly release my daughter and I'll spare your lives. Otherwise, don't even think about walking out of this Phoenix forest. The first elder was angry and her aura would not lose to anyone. Humph. If it weren't for those trees, she would have saved her daughter a long time ago and wouldn't be in such a passive state now. Damn it, she really couldn't understand why those parasol trees were protecting Leng Ruoxua and the others. They were the beasts that depended on the parasol tree. Hence, this fact made her feel extremely unfair. Chapter 732, Holding Out Hope Until Faced with the Grim Reality. 3. Old woman, you'd better worry about your own life and death. We don't need your mercy. Feng De said with a venomous tongue, his face clearly still carrying a provocative smile. Old woman. Damn it, who are you talking about? The first elder instantly became even more furious when she heard herself being called an old woman. Fuck, she was so young and beautiful, so beautiful that it could topple kingdoms. How did she look like an old woman? What kind of taste did this human have? Of course I'm talking about you. Feng De repeated kindly. However, he could not help but feel uneasy in his heart. He really did not expect this beast to care so much about her appearance. How am I old? I'm not even 1,000 years old. The first elder couldn't help but emphasize. Her beautiful face was so angry that it was changing color. Less than 1,000 years old? How is that not old at all? Feng De rolled his eyes and said speechlessly. She was about to become a 1,000-year-old demon, yet this old woman still refused to face reality. First Elder, you mustered such a large force, could it be that you're only here to discuss your age with us? Len Ruoxue held back her laughter and pretended to be confused as she asked. Sigh. Any woman would lose their composure when it came to age. It seemed even beasts were no exception. Of course not. First Elder hurriedly denied. Damn it, after being disturbed by this human, she was so angry that she even forgot the proper business. Then what are you waiting for? If you don't make a move, I'm going to make the first move. Len Ruoxue was very particular. Before she started to beat them up, she even notified them so that they wouldn't feel too unsatisfied. Human, you are really too arrogant. Humph. Die. After the First Elder finished speaking, she signaled her subordinates to attack. Len Ruoxue and the others who were already prepared also took out their beast at the same time, ready to attack. 10th Elder, how could you all? First Elder looked at the beasts that Cheng Wu and the others summoned and was instantly somewhat dumbfounded. Damn it, these clansmen had clearly already become the contracted beasts of these humans from the look on their faces. But, how was this possible? According to what she knew, in the boundless heaven continent, there was simply no beast tamer who could tame her clansmen. First Elder, don't force yourself anymore. Surrender. There's no benefit in going against them. The 10th Elder advised with good intentions. Sigh. If First Elder insisted on doing things her way, she would probably end up in a worse state than them. Humph. I'm not going to embarrass the Phoenix clan like you. You want me to work like a slave for the human race? Dream on. The First Elder said stubbornly, looking down on the clansmen who had already defected. Sigh. First Elder, I've already tried to persuade you, but I can't do anything about it if you don't listen to me, the 10th Elder said in a speechless manner. Boo-hoo, how was this voluntary surrendering to the enemy? It was clearly impossible to choose, but unfortunately, he didn't dare say these words in front of that little demon. Do it. Len Ruoxue ordered lightly. Charge. Feng De shouted. Then, he took the lead and charged into the battlefield. The others followed closely behind. In an instant, the two sides started fighting on Len Ruoxue's side. The principle of group attack was still firmly established. However, this time, the First Elder had brought almost half of the Phoenix clan's strength, so there was no situation of dozens of beasts attacking the same Phoenix, as for Len Ruoxue and the others. The greatest benefit of having more opponents was that they also had a chance to beat someone up. This time, the Freak and her each found an opponent to beat up. Icy, who had not fought for a long time, also jumped into the middle of the battlefield. Bullying, kicking, and playing happily. In an instant, all sorts of profound energy flew through the air like beams of light, and the parasol trees that didn't want to be affected by the battle tacitly cast a barrier to protect themselves, so as to avoid being accidentally injured by the Phoenix whose eyes had turned red from killing. The gains would not make up for the losses. After all, they were trees. Even though they liked the fire attribute, they were also very afraid of fire. After Len Ruoxue finished dealing with one of her opponents, she stood at the side and watched the battle for a while. As for the beast men that had been beaten black and blue by her subordinates and beast men, they were all sent into her space. In the space, she specially asked Qing Ju to set up a cell to imprison these beast men. Schwer, let's go deal with that old woman. If I'm not wrong, there should be a Phoenix coming to die later. After beating his opponent half to death, the Freak walked to Len Ruoxue's side with the level 8 transcendent divine beast in his hand. Freak, aren't you a little too heavy-handed? Len Ruoxue was a little speechless as she spoke. He forced this transcendent divine beast to fight with its real body and ended up beaten up like a pig head. It could be seen how ruthless the Freak was. Hee hee. I thought that this level 8 beast would be very strong. Who knew that it wouldn't be able to take a beating? The Freak was very disappointed as he said this. His face was full of tve been tricked by it. Ha! Len Ruoshua laughed happily seeing the freak's depressed expressio. She took the phoenix from the freak's hand and threw it into the space cell. On the other side, the first elder of the Phoenix clan watched as the number of clan members on the battlefield decreased. She was so angry that she almost went berserk. Damn it, where were her clansmen? She wanted to see them if they were alive, and if they were dead, she wanted to see their corpses. However, all her clansmen had mysteriously disappeared. Could it be that all her clansmen had been put into the beast cages? She could not help but guess. However, she really wanted to know how many beast cages these people had to prepare to store so many beasts. Len Ruoshua and the freak were right in front of the first elder. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. What do you want to do? The first elder asked with a face full of vigilance. Boo-hoo, she was too confident when she came. She thought that these humans would be captured quickly. However, she did not expect that the captured ones were her own clansmen. This made her unable to accept it for a moment. Thus, when she looked at Len Ruoshua, there was a trace of fear that even she did not notice. Don't be afraid, I just want to spar with you. Len Ruoshua consoled her kindly. Oh, she didn't like opponents who threw themselves into chaos before the battle. If that happened, there would be no sense of accomplishment. The first elder looked at Len Ruoshua with a face full of confidence until she recalled her fierce performance with the man in front of her on the battlefield just now. Her heart trembled. Even though she really wanted to refuse their spar, she couldn't say it out loud. Boo-hoo, the pressure was too great. Chapter 733, Holding Out Hope Until Faced with the Grim Reality. 4. Schwaer, the first elder has agreed. Let's make our move. The freak laughed softly as he looked at the first elder who was silent. Len Ruoshua nodded. Then, the two of them attacked at the same time. Two streaks of mystic power, one red and one black, floated in front of the first elder. Furthermore, their speed was not very fast, enough for the first elder to dodge. However, the first elder, whose reaction had suddenly become a bit slow, could not dodge entirely and even suffered some injuries. This caused Len Ruoshua, who was looking forward to battling the mystic supremacy, to be somewhat disappointed. Since she was already disappointed, Len Ruoshua naturally didn't want to waste any more time. Just now, Qing Ju had already sent a voice transmission to her, telling her that another phoenix was rushing over. Furthermore, it should arrive in a few minutes, so she felt that she could end this quickly. Len Ruoshua gave the evildoer a look when she thought of this. After that, the two of them consecutively used several profound techniques. In the blink of an eye, red and black colored profound energy tightly wrapped around the Feng clan's first elder. Damn it, what the hell is this? The first elder couldn't help but curse as she looked at the red and black colored mystic power that was entangled around her body and tied her up. Ha, this is a new mystic supremacy developed by me and the freak. It's called Never Leave. You're the first beast that I use it on. You must be very happy. Len Ruoshua said with a smile. Oh, looks like this new mystic technique of theirs was quite useful. Even a mystic supremacy was unable to break free. During these past 3 days, the freak and her had randomly thought of such a technique out of boredom. However, never had they imagined that the effect would actually be so good. After all, the technique Never Leave was modified according to the high grade would attribute mystic technique bind. So, they weren't confident in its effect. However, they really didn't care about whether it was good or bad. What they cared about was that they possessed this mystic technique together, and only the two of them were able to complete it together. Let go of me, you guys, this is an unfair victory, the first elder said, unable to accept it. Boo-hoo. She had not even made a move yet, how could she lose like this? This result was really unbearable for her. TCH, if we win, we win. Just accept the truth. After Len Ruoshua finished speaking, she directly threw the first elder into the space cell. Then, She cleaned up the remaining phoenixes. After cleaning them up, she stood in place and waited for the arrival of the other phoenixes. A moment later, another several hundred phoenixes arrived, led by the 17th elder of the Council of Elders. When the 17th elder arrived with his men, he only saw the humans Feng Miao mentioned. He didn't see any of his clansmen. Where did all his clansmen go? Although he and the first elder were not on good terms in politics, they were still of the same clan. Thus, he naturally did not want to see them fall into the hands of humans. Otherwise, he would not have hurriedly gathered his clansmen to rush over after receiving the news. But where was the first elder and the others? Why didn't he even see the feather of a phoenix? The 17th elder was puzzled. Even though he had heard from Feng Miao that these humans were very powerful, due to his bad impression of the deeply rooted humans, he didn't believe Feng Miao's words at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made the wrong decision. In fact, he was a little arrogant. He had always thought that Leng Ruoxue was able to kill Feng Yun because of good luck, and with Feng Miao's help, he had never planned to avenge Feng Yun. However, he couldn't just leave those clansmen behind. Miss Leng, is it? May I know where my clansmen have gone? The 17th elder asked politely, but his heart was in turmoil. They are now my captives and have been locked up by me. Leng Ruoxue smiled lightly. Oh, this handsome man who looked to be in his 30s should be the Phoenix clan's 17th elder. In these 3 days, she had also learned about the situation of many phoenixes with high status in the clan, including this guy. What? Just as Leng Ruoxue's voice fell, the 17th elder and the other members of the Phoenix clan couldn't help but take a deep breath. They were afraid that they had heard wrongly. Then, they looked at Leng Ruoxue with disbelief. After all, in order to capture them alive, the first elder had brought nearly half of his clansmen. Moreover, there was no lack of 8th and 9th level legendary beasts among them. The first elder was even more powerful and her cultivation was above Feng Yun's. So, they really didn't expect to hear such a result. How could the proud Phoenix clan endure this? 17th elder, Miss words are all true. You'd better believe it. Feng Miao said coldly. Actually, she was also very angry at the 17th elder and the others for being immoral. Therefore, she naturally did not intend to put in a good word for them. Who asked these people to not shed a tear until they saw the coffin? How is this possible? Feng Miao, I watched you grow up. You can't lie to me, the 17th elder reminded, and even started to form a bridge. TM telling the truth. Believe it or not. Feng Miao said unhappily. Her temper was famous in the clan. Therefore, before she was designated as a traitor of the Feng clan by Feng Yun, other than Feng Xian, no other clansman dared to provoke her. However, after she became a traitor, some people who only dared to secretly envy her in private no longer had any scruples. Feng Linger was the best example. Hence, she had been suppressing her anger these past few days. And just as she was worried that she had not finished venting her anger, another person fearlessly came to her door. Right now, you all only have 2 choices. One is to surrender, and the other is to use force. Leng Ruoxue repeated what she said to the first elder Hihi, she was talking about surrendering, not surrendering. This was naturally different in terms of status. Miss Leng, why don't we have a good talk, the 17th elder said with a troubled expression. Boo-hoo. He didn't want to surrender, but he didn't want to use force either. Actually, he was very clear about the strength of the clansmen he had brought. He seemed to have brought more people than the first elder had brought earlier, but in terms of strength, he was incomparable to the clansmen that the first elder had brought over. The first elder had been completely annihilated, so he really didn't dare to guarantee that the clansmen he had brought would be able to escape unscathed. Therefore, it was naturally the best if they didn't fight. Tunder what the 17th elder wants to talk about. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile that was not a smile. The word ridicule was written on her beautiful face. Humph. These fellows who don't know what's good for them. 3 days ago, she sent people to rope them in and gave them 3 days to consider. They didn't even give her an answer. Now, they actually want to talk to her. It's really too laughable. However, she was still kind enough to see what this old phoenix was planning. Chapter 734, Holding Out Hope Until Faced with the Grim Reality. 5. Miss Leng, if I'm willing to bring my clansmen to acknowledge you as my master, I wonder what benefits we can obtain. The 17th elder asked somewhat embarrassedly. 3 days ago, when Feng Miao came to look for him, she had already said that she hoped they would acknowledge Leng Ruoxue as their master. She had even said that this was a great thing and that they would regret it if they rejected her. However, at that time, he had tried to trick them for half a day, but Feng Miao did not say anything. This made him a little angry, so he casually brushed them off and did not give these humans a reply. However, now he knew that it was impossible not to give them an answer. Furthermore, almost half of their clansmen were still in their hands. However, even if he wanted to acknowledge her as his master, he had to fight for sufficient benefits for his clansmen. Moreover, he was truly curious exactly what ability this young human woman before him possessed to make them willingly acknowledge her as their master. After all, they were from the Phoenix clan. So, how could ordinary beasts compare to them? At this very moment, the Phoenix clan's lofty sense of superiority still occupied their thoughts. And this was also the common understanding of all humans in the boundless heaven continent apart from Leng Ruoxue and the others and the beast men. However, this 17th elder would soon know that in Leng Ruoxue's eyes, all the beast men were equal. However, this did not include the Phoenix clan in the boundless heaven continent that had angered her. 17th elder, if I remember correctly, I only gave you 3 days to consider this matter. It's already been a long time, don't you think it's a bit too late to discuss this with me now? Leng Ruoxue said in an extremely cold tone. She would usually only give them one chance. If she couldn't grasp it, then she naturally wouldn't have another chance in the future. But, it's only the 4th day. We've thought about it for 3 days, and we'll give you an answer on the 4th day. Isn't the timing just right? The 17th elder quibbled. First elder, do you have too many deals with humans? Leng Ruoxue mocked. Humph. This old man was playing word games with her and playing dirty tricks with her. A simple beast had learned all the tricks of humans who didn't keep their promises. No wonder the Phoenix clan was taken down so easily. We do have a lot of dealings with humans, but that doesn't stop us from making deals with each other, the 17th elder promised while feigning ignorance. However, he couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. This girl was actually so sharp-tongued at such a young age. She didn't even use vulgarities when she scolded others. Boo-hoo. The language of humans was really broad and profound. Fortunately, he usually preferred to study the things of humans. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to hear the sarcasm in her words. However, under the current circumstances, he could only continue feigning ignorance until the end. 17th elder, I will only give you one chance. Right now, you no longer have any chance to bargain. You only have 2 choices. One is to surrender, and the other is to fight. Leng Ruoxue saw that this old man who had lived for an unknown amount of time was acting stupid, so she could only be more straightforward to prevent him from continuing to pretend. Miss Leng, don't be like this. If there's anything, we can have a good talk, the 17th elder said with a chuckle, his attitude very good. Old man, it's too late. Since you guys aren't willing to surrender, then let's not waste time and just fight. Leng Ruoxue said straightforwardly. Don't be rash, Miss Leng, fighting is a barbaric act. We're all polite children. It's better to resolve this matter in a civilized manner, the 17th elder said in a hurry. In any case, he didn't want to be tortured. He didn't want to take the risk of losing the first elder and the others. Sob. The Phoenix clan was getting worse by the day. Isn't this world where the strong are respected? If we don't use force, how can you be convinced? Furthermore, martial force is also the fastest solution. So, 17th Elder, take this direction of 17th Elder. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she directly threw a light blue-colored water attribute profound energy in the ah. How can you hit me just like that? The 17th Elder hurriedly jumped aside and dodged that water attribute profound energy attack. However, there was still a portion of water droplets that touched his body, and it was so painful that he couldn't help but cry out softly. Woo! What kind of water was this? Why did it hurt so much? Furthermore, the water droplet even carried a frightening cold aura. One had to know that he was a fire attribute beast, so the thing he hated the most was naturally water. However, not to mention water attribute profound energy, even water attribute profound techniques would find it very difficult to injure him. However, Leng Ruoxue's profound energy caused him to feel pain. This was truly inconceivable. However, the other clansmen who were also affected were much more miserable than him. Sigh. Who asked those clansmen to have such low strength? What else? Leng Ruoxue looked at the 17th Elder with a bit of amusement, as if what she heard was a joke. Actually, she really didn't use too much force just now. Otherwise, those little phoenixes that were affected would have long been frozen into ice. Ah! Can we not fight? The 17th Elder's handsome face was full of charm as he smiled and said, Boo-hoo. Leng Ruoxue's display of power earlier actually made him feel a lingering fear. This was not a good sign, so he really did not want to fight. Sure. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head. Just as the 17th Elder was about to heave a sigh of relief, she added, You can choose to surrender yourselves. Ah. Can I choose the third option? The 17th Elder refused to give up. 1M Sorry, there's no third option, Leng Ruoxue sneered. She did not want to waste any more words with this old man who was pretending to be a fool, so she gave everyone a look. Everyone understood and immediately surrounded the 17th Elder and the other phoenixes. The beasts were still baring their teeth and glaring at them like a tiger watching its prey sob. The 17th Elder and the other members of the Phoenix clan were very upset. They were actually afraid of these people or beasts who were weaker than them but were threatening them. The 17th Elder exchanged glances with the other elders and said helplessly, We surrender. Sob. Those who know the truth are the elites. Surrendering is better than being beaten up and then being captured. At least they didn't suffer any physical pain. The 17th Elder kept hypnotizing himself and consoling himself. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Chapter 735, The Dragon Clan That Followed Suit, 1N. Leng Ruoxue calmly nodded her head, as if she had already expected them to be like this. Oh, she liked people who knew their own limits. So, even though this 17th Elder was a bit slippery, he wasn't hopeless. The 17th Elder and the others were extremely surprised by Leng Ruoxue's indifference. They couldn't understand why this human girl, in front of them, was so used to their surrender. If it was any other human, wouldn't they have fainted from happiness? Later on, when they had a deeper understanding of Leng Ruoxue, they found out that many beasts sent themselves to her doorstep. So, she really didn't care about their existence. Feng Zhan, contract them first. Leng Ruoxue looked at Feng Zhan who was standing on her shoulder and said. Amen. Feng Zhan nodded, and then he chanted a string of incantations. The 17th Elder and the other phoenixes were instantly enveloped by a circle of light, and then they lowered their proud heads towards Feng Zhan. This subordinate pays his respects to the king. The 17th Elder and the other phoenixes said in unison, hiding the shock in their hearts. None of them had expected that this fire phoenix in front of them actually had the bloodline of the royal family. Sigh. Master, the 8th and 9th rank transcendent divine beasts have been contracted by Feng De and the others, right? Feng Zhan spoke. With the enhancement of his will, he did not even need Master to use beast taming techniques anymore. Hee. This discovery was something he had unintentionally discovered during the last few times he had used the contract. All phoenixes that had been contracted by him could not resist his will at all, even if their ranks were higher than his. This was the benefit of having a bloodline. Alright, Feng De, go and choose the beast you want to contract. Lin Ruoxue said to Feng De and the others. With Feng Zhan and Feng Da's double contract, these phoenixes can forget about playing any tricks. Yes. Feng De, Zheng En and the rest answered happily. Then, they each went forward to choose a level 9 transcendent divine beasts that they found pleasing to the eye and signed a master-servant contract. Grandfather, why aren't you guys going? Lin Ruoxue couldn't help but be surprised when she saw that her grandfather, Grandpa Du, brother, and brother Feng didn't go up to pick. Ha, Shuer, there's no hurry. Let them choose first. Ling Qingtian chuckled. With so many phoenixes, it didn't matter if they chose first or later. Miss, we are done choosing. Feng De and the others said with embarrassment. Grandfather, go and choose. Lin Ruoxue smiled. Okay. Ling Qingtian and the rest walked forward and casually chose a level 9 transcendent divine beasts to sign a master-servant contract. Then, they returned to Lin Ruoxue's side. Ah. Lin Ruoxue looked at the other beasts, then looked at Empty before saying, Empty, you're not choosing a contract. No need, I only need Icy. Empty said indifferently. Oh. Lin Ruoxue helplessly replied. Sigh. Why did it seem as if the people around her were very unwilling to enter into contracts? If it were someone else, with such a good contract opportunity, they would have long fainted from happiness. No one actually contracted the 17th elder. Lin Ruoxue couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat when she saw the aggrieved look on the 17th elder's face. She thought to herself, what's with that old man's expression? It's just that he hasn't been contracted, is there a need to be so pitiful? However, with the level 8 or 9 transcendent divine beasts of the Phoenix clan, their strength has increased by more than a little. Moreover, with these beasts, she believed that she would have the strength to fight even against the 3 super clans. Therefore, the most important thing to do now was to improve their strength. Otherwise, if they were too weak, they would be a burden. Thinking of this, Lin Ruoxue decided to let everyone go into seclusion for now. However, she still had something to do before she went into seclusion. Lin Ruoxue thought for a moment, then she took out the phoenix she had locked in the space cell. When Feng Zhan saw them, he didn't even need his master's reminder and immediately entered the contract. Greetings, Your Majesty. The first elder and the other phoenixes who had been contracted by Feng Zhan bowed very respectfully. Yes. In consideration of your performance, all of you can only be servants in the future. Feng Zhan spoke in a cold voice while revealing the imposing aura of a king. Yes, the first elder of the Phoenix clan said in a hurry. Sob. She had accepted being a servant since she was the ruler. However, she had never expected to see the royal family of the Phoenix clan in this world. This might be a rare opportunity for them. After doing all of this, Lin Ruoxue moved all the phoenixes into the space. Besides those that had already recognized their masters, the other phoenixes were naturally managed by Feng Zhan. After that, she told everyone her plan and received everyone's response. Oh, they also felt that their strength was a little weak now, so they had long wanted to go into seclusion and cultivate properly. Just like that, Lin Ruoxue and the others went into seclusion, and the Phoenix Forest temporarily regained its peace 3 months after their seclusion. Lin Liang and the others came out. After Lin Liang and the others came out of seclusion, they heard that Lin Ruoxue and the others had gone into seclusion. They couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. Boo-hoo. It's been so long since I've seen them, I wonder when I'll see them again. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Within the Heaven and Earth Bracelet. Empty. How strong is the lass now? The disheveled old man asked curiously. Ever since he came out of seclusion, he had advanced 2 levels consecutively and consumed the silver snow pills that Schwer had left for them. Now, he was already a mystic monarch. How wonderful! Before they entered into closed-door cultivation, their strengths were the same as all of you. It would be hard to say after they came out of closed-door cultivation. Empty smiled as he spoke. These old men had just advanced to the mystic monarch realm and were feeling happy in their hearts. However, they probably wouldn't be able to laugh after hearing his words, right? He guessed. That can't be, right? Why aren't those perverts waiting for us? The disheveled old man and the others could not help but grumble. They were depressed. Extremely depressed. Boo-hoo. They had finally become mystic monarch after much difficulty, but by the time Schwer and those perverts came out of seclusion, they might have advanced again. Also, that old fellow Ling Qingtian had advanced faster than them. Boo-hoo. Sigh. They were depressed, but so was Ling Qingtian. He originally wanted to show off to his old friends, but the plan didn't change quickly. In order to not drag everyone down, he could only work hard to cultivate in seclusion. Chapter 736, The Dragon Clan That Followed Suit, 2, actually, you don't have to be too depressed. Schwer left you a gift before she went into seclusion. Empty smiled mysteriously. Ah. What gift? The few of them were full of curiosity. They had just come out of seclusion and were in a hurry to advance after coming out, so they really did not know much about Schwer and the others' recent actions. Feng Zhan. Empty called out softly. Not long after, Feng Zhan brought the 8 and 9 level transcendent divine beasts in his hand to their side. Ah. Where did these phoenixes come from? Little Feng, did you add new members? Lin Liang looked at the unfathomably powerful phoenixes in front of him, his face filled with question marks. They did not know any of these phoenixes, so he was very sure that these phoenixes were new. With this in mind, he could not help but be curious about the recent happenings of Schwer and company. That's right. They are all my servants. Master instructed for you to contract as you wish. You can sign a master-servant contract with them. In the future, they will be your servants. Feng Zhan explained with a grin. Our servants? Lin Liang and the others were all experienced, so how could they not understand Feng Zhan's words? Oh. It seemed that these phoenixes had provoked their little princess. Otherwise, with Schwer's degree of love for animals, how could she let them sign a master-servant contract? However, since these ignorant phoenixes had angered their little ancestor, then it was only right for them to receive some punishment. Thus, their thoughts destined these unlucky phoenixes to work like cows and horses in the future. Yes. Feng Zhan nodded. Since that's the case, I want stand on ceremony then. The disheveled old man rubbed his palms together and said excitedly. Even though these phoenixes weren't obedient, they were pretty. He could have a beautiful beast now. However, who knew that the disheveled old man's thoughts would incur the displeasure of his beastmen? Master, you're despising us. The disheveled old man's beast spirit sent a voice transmission with an aggrieved expression. Boo-hoo. Even though they weren't as pretty as those phoenixes, their relationship with Master was definitely deeper than those phoenixes. That damned phoenix wanted to fight for their favor the moment he arrived. He was dead meat. No, I'm not despising you guys. The disheveled old man hurriedly consoled them after hearing their words. Boo, he really didn't. Boo-hoo, the beasts cried bitterly. Don't cry. I won't take in any more servants, alright? The disheveled old man said helplessly. Boo-hoo. Even though he could not bear to part with it, a lousy phoenix was not as important as his beasts. No, the beasts said in unison. If their master didn't take in a phoenix as a servant, who would they bully? Eh. The disheveled old man was conflicted. He could not stop crying. What did they want from him? Master, why don't you take in a phoenix and become our subordinates, the beast men suggested. Even though the phoenix in front of them was stronger than them, the phoenix came later. All right, the disheveled old man agreed before turning his gaze towards the phoenixes before him. Oh, as long as these beasts were happy, everyone would be biased. Lin Liang and the others surrounded the phoenix in front of them and looked at it several times. Then, they finally each chose a phoenix to contract. Your Majesty, why didn't anyone choose me? Looking at the contracted phoenixes with slight jealousy, the 17th elder said with a gloomy face. Boo-hoo. Even though there was no longer any threat of death in this space, if they didn't have a master, they could only rely on themselves to advance. Boo-hoo, this would be very slow. So, he also wanted to find a master, but no one was willing to take him. So sad. What's the rush? Someone will definitely take a liking to you. Right, how's the matter I asked you to handle? Feng Zhan asked. Awakening the patriarch and elders is a long process, so I still need time, the 17th elder said hurriedly. And, don't be lazy. The sycamore trees will tell me your every move, Feng Zhan warned. I promise I won't. The 17th elder wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said. Boo-hoo. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that the sycamore trees that they had relied on for so many years would actually betray them. This was too inconceivable. How could it be like this? Moreover, they already knew that if they didn't surrender, or if they defeated Leng Ruoxue and the others, then the sycamore trees that they had raised for so many years would also be taken away. And, you guys can continue with your work. After Feng Zhan finished speaking, he sent a voice transmission to Qing Ju to send the 17th elder and the other phoenixes out of the space. After busying himself with his master's instructions, Feng Zhan returned to his own territory to cultivate as well. Recently, his master's beasts had been cultivating diligently as well, so he naturally couldn't fall behind the beast queen. After Feng Zhan and the other beasts left, Lin Liang looked at the few old men beside him and said, I've decided to continue my seclusion. I can't be left behind by old Leng. And, I also want to enter seclusion. The old man also spoke of his decision. Let's continue our seclusion then. The disheveled old man and the other two's gazes clashed as they said in unison. Since they were tempted, they might as well take action. After making their decision, they greeted Empty and then returned to their respective rooms to enter seclusion. Seeing that he and Icy were the only ones left in the lively garden, he could not help but sigh softly. Boo-hoo, when would Shuer and the others come out of seclusion? Ever since Shuer decided to go into seclusion, the space had been in a craze for cultivation. All the people and beasts were busy cultivating, so this place seemed much quieter. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. After another 3 months, there was finally some movement in the purple bamboo house where Leng Ruoxue and the freak were. Empty, who had been sitting on the stone bench in front of the purple bamboo house, couldn't help but look towards the door with a face full of anticipation. After waiting for a while, the commotion stopped again. Sigh. So it was a false alarm. Boo-hoo. Empty was very sad, the consequences are very serious. However, just as he was feeling melancholic, the door to the purple bamboo house suddenly opened. The two people he had been looking forward to for a long time finally walked out of the house hand in hand. You guys are finally willing to come out. Empty said with a bitter face. At this moment, he looked like a little wife who had been abandoned by someone. Chapter 737, The Dragon Clan That Followed Suit, 3, That's right. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Leng Ruoxue's forehead as she helplessly said. Sigh. What kind of expression is that? In reality, she had entered into closed-door cultivation this time for the sake of absorbing even more spirit energy to prepare for her advancement into the mystic sovereign realm. However, she had never imagined that after she had cultivated the heaven-defying skill to the 5th level, the spirit energy required would be at least twice as much as before. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used such a long time. Alas! What a pitiable spirit energy. Fortunately, the spirit energy here was sufficiently dense, otherwise, she would really be unable to find a way to fill that bottomless pit. However, after she advanced into the mystic sovereign realm, the spirit energy she had painstakingly stored during this period of time would probably be depleted again. Schwer, when do you plan to advance? Empty asked. Let's wait for grandfather and the others. After cultivating for so long, I think they're about to come out of seclusion. Leng Ruoxue said after thinking for a while. Then, she sensed the condition of her own beasts. Oh, the beasts were also in seclusion. That's fine too. By the way, the Phoenix clan's elder who were in deep sleep have already woken up. However, I didn't ask Qing Ju to let them in. Right now, Feng Miao and the others are accompanying them outside. Elder explained. Oh, let's go out and take a look. Leng Ruoxue changed her mind and brought the freak and empty out of the bracelet. Miss, you've come out of seclusion. The moment Leng Ruoxue and the other two appeared in the parasol forest, Feng Miao sensed her aura and immediately ran out of the house, looking at her with joy. Leng Ruoxue nodded, and then she turned her gaze towards the middle-aged beautiful woman that walked out from the room with Feng Miao. This woman seemed to be around 40+ years old, and she was extremely beautiful. She was 70% similar to Feng Miao, and the aura on her body was restrained. Merely based on her appearance, it was practically impossible to discern this woman's cultivation. However, no one was able to overlook her existence. Oh, this woman ought to be Feng Miao's mother. Miss Leng, thank you for taking care of my daughter. Feng Wu bowed. Her attitude was proper and neither servile nor overbearing. That was why Leng Ruoxue had a good first impression of her. Only someone like her deserved to be the head of the Phoenix clan. That Feng Yun was nothing compared to this woman. She's my subordinate, it's only right for me to protect her, Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Anyone that she recognized was her subordinate, so she couldn't bully others. Miss Leng, I'm willing to accept you as my master. I wonder if you're willing to give me this chance. Feng Wu volunteered. She knew that Leng Ruoxue's subordinates had all signed master-servant contracts with members of the Phoenix clan, but she couldn't blame Leng Ruoxue for that. After all, her own clansmen had offended Leng Ruoxue. Moreover, she had heard her daughter talk a lot about this human woman. Hence, from her perspective, she really admired Leng Ruoxue. It would be nice to have such a master. All right, you can sign the contract. Leng Ruoxue didn't argue. She had quite a good impression of this fire phoenix. Oh, okay. Feng Wu was surprised by Leng Ruoxue's words, but she quickly realized what was going on. Since her future master had asked her to sign the contract naturally wouldn't be a master-servant contract. At that thought, she signed the sole contract without hesitation. As the rules of the contract descended, the contract was officially established. Feng Wu greets you, master, Feng Wu said in a very formal voice. Well, that was great. With master around, she wouldn't have to worry about her own life anymore. Feng Wu, as my beast, you don't have to be so polite in front of master, Leng Ruoxue reminded her. She and her beast were like family. Yes. Of course Feng Wu knew that. However, she had to be polite since it was her first time. Feng Wu didn't want her master to think that she didn't respect her. Feng Wu, you've been awake for a while now. I want to know what the other phoenixes are thinking. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. In fact, the phoenixes she had tamed before were only small shrimps. The real big lobsters were all sleeping. The phoenixes that had fallen asleep were the true strength of the phoenixes. Moreover, from what the 17th elder and the other phoenixes said, unless it concerned the safety of the Phoenix clan, it was impossible to wake them up. However, the Phoenix clan had been subdued too quickly this time, so they didn't have time to ask for help at all. Furthermore, it wasn't them who asked for help. These old phoenixes that had been sleeping for a long time would wake up. After all, waking up required time, and the price they had to pay to wake up was also very high. Because once these old phoenixes were awakened, it also meant that their time of death was coming. "Master, they want to see you first," Feng Wu said after some thought. Those seniors were different from her. She didn't want to be separated from her daughter because her daughter had decided to follow them. However, the seniors in the clan would rather die than acknowledge her as their master. Hence, she wasn't sure of their intentions. Sure. Leng Ruoxue nodded. "Till let them know right away," Feng Wu said anxiously. She then left the forest in a hurry. Half an hour later, Feng Wu returned. "Master, the seniors have all arrived," Feng Wu reported and introduced the person behind her to Leng Ruoxue. After both sides nodded their heads, they began to size each other up. After a while, a middle-aged man spoke very politely, "Young lady Leng, we wish to see Feng Zhan." "Is that possible?" "Sure." With a thought, Leng Ruoxue brought Feng Zhan out from the bracelet. Feng Zhan, who had just exited the space, couldn't help but feel a bit lost. However, when he saw Leng Ruoxue, he quickly threw himself into her arms and affectionately rubbed against her. After that, he contentedly stood on her shoulder. As for the others, they were completely ignored by him. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. The seniors of the Phoenix clan were all very embarrassed and looked like they wanted to cry but had no tears. This little guy only cared about his master. It really made them sad. However, as expected of the bloodline of a king, he was already a level 2 transcendent divine beasts at such a young age. They were very gratified. Therefore, they were not that sad about being ignored. "Feng Zhan, they want to see you." Leng Ruoxue pointed at a group of old phoenixes with bitter faces not far away. "Ah. I don't even know them," Feng Zhan said somewhat helplessly. Chapter 738, The Dragon Clan That Followed Suit, 4, and its words made a few of the old phoenixes who had lived for God knows how many years sad. Boo-hoo, how could Little Master forget them? Thinking back, they had even hugged him when Little Master was still an egg. "Little Master, you really don't remember us?" An old phoenix sobbed. "Ah. Should I remember you?" Feng Zhan's face was filled with bewilderment. However, he did indeed have a feeling of déjà vu towards this old phoenix. It was just that he really couldn't remember. Feng Zhan. I was one of the Phoenix King's guards back in the day. I even took care of you for a period of time." The old phoenix was heartbroken and couldn't stop crying. "Oh, I seem to have some recollection," Feng Zhan hurriedly said. Actually, he still hadn't recalled it. After all, he was still too young back then. "Little Master, do you still remember me? I'm also the Phoenix King's guard, and I've taken care of you before." Another old phoenix also spoke with an expectant expression. "Boo-hoo. That egg back then was already a second-level transcendent divine beast now. Time really passed so quickly. In the blink of an eye, Little Master had grown so big. Time didn't spare beasts." He couldn't help but sigh. "Ah. I have some impression of you too," Feng Zhan said perfunctorily. However, his words made the old phoenix abnormally happy. He was just short of dancing with joy. "Shuer, it looks like it's going to be a family reunion," the freak whispered in Shuer's ear. "Amen." Leng Ruoxue nodded her head and helplessly said. Sigh. She never thought that one of these old phoenixes would be the guard of her mother. Was this fate? Or was this world too small? After a long time, the reunion finally ended. An old phoenix spoke on behalf of everyone. Miss Leng, since Little Master has acknowledged you as his master, you will naturally be our master in the future. Okay. Leng Ruoxua nodded. These old phoenixes had lived for who knows how many years. Not only were they powerful, but they were also experienced and knowledgeable. There would definitely be only benefits to having them as her subordinates. As soon as Leng Ruoxua finished speaking, dozens of slumbering old phoenixes took the initiative to sign a soul contract, officially acknowledging her as their master. After the contract rules disappeared, Leng Ruoxua slightly sensed the connection between them and felt very satisfied in her heart. Oh, Feng Zhan really had a lot of face. These old phoenixes actually acknowledged her as their master without a word, causing her to not use any of the excuses she had prepared beforehand. This made her feel a sense of accomplishment. However, it was fortunate that others couldn't hear her thoughts, otherwise, they would definitely die of jealousy. After the contract was successful, Leng Ruoxua moved all the phoenixes into her bracelet and arranged for the 17th elder to show them around their new home in the future. However, she wanted to wait for her grandfather and the others to come out of seclusion before leaving, so those old phoenixes could only temporarily stay in the phoenix forest. After those old phoenixes' lives were satisfied, they took the initiative to take on the training mission. Of course, it was mainly to nurture a group of loyal and powerful beasts for their master. After all, most of their master's beasts were too weak, which made them very dissatisfied. Therefore, all of Leng Ruoxua's beasts, whether they had already come out of seclusion or were still in seclusion, whether they were contracted or not, were gathered together. They would undergo demonic training in the day and continue cultivating at night. Just like that, day after day of training, in less than half a year, Leng Ruoxua's beasts had all advanced. Feng Zhan advanced 3 levels consecutively and directly became a level 5 Transcendent Divine Beast. Charm also advanced 3 levels and was currently a level 4 Transcendent Divine Beast. Baby, Quill, Dazzle, Rise, Silver Wing, and the other beasts, advanced to level 2 Transcendent Divine Beasts respectively. All the Silver Wolves and Feng Zhan's clansmen also advanced to level 1 Super Transcendent Divine Beasts. Even though White Dawn only advanced 1 level and was now a level 6 Transcendent Divine Beast, he was still the strongest among all the beast men. Meanwhile, the 2 hairy beasts and Little Peacock had also advanced to level 5 Transcendent Divine Beasts. During this period of time, Leng Ruoxua held several birthday parties for the beasts celebrating their birthdays. In addition, she also held a birthday party for herself. Because her grandfather and the others had yet to come out of seclusion, she originally wanted to forget about it. However, when she thought about how there were still so many beasts who wanted to celebrate her birthday with her, not to mention that the Freak and Empty wanted to celebrate her birthday with her, so she held a group birthday party. That lively scene made those old phoenixes who already didn't know what birthdays were envious to the extreme. Looking at their fervent gazes, Leng Ruoxua promised them that she would hold a birthday party for them as well. Only then did she appease those old phoenixes. In the bracelet. Sigh. Leng Ruoxua, who was sitting on the stone bench, sighed heavily, causing the Freak beside her to be confused. Shuer, what's wrong? Weren't you very happy a few days ago? Why are you so sentimental today? The Freak's beautiful face was filled with confusion. I've aged another year. Leng Ruoxua said helplessly. Sigh. Time passed so quickly. In the blink of an eye, she had been in this world for more than 3 years. Even though it wasn't a long time, she had gained kinship, love, and friendship. This was the rarest thing. Shuer, you're just a kid who just celebrated your 19th birthday a few days ago. How dare you say that you're old in front of me? Are you trying to anger me to death? Empty pretended to be unhappy. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBoxNovel. Thanks. I didn't say you're old, I only said that I've aged another year, Leng Ruoxua quibbled, sob, not many women like to celebrate their birthdays. We are cultivators. Age is nothing to us. We don't need to care too much about it, Empty said helplessly. Oh, that's true. Leng Ruoxua nodded in agreement. Actually, she missed grandfather and the others. Suddenly, there was a fluctuation in the space. Leng Ruoxua was delighted and said happily, grandfather and the rest have finally emerged. Schwer. After Leng Qingtian came out of the bamboo house, he looked at his precious granddaughter not far away and was extremely happy. Grandfather. Leng Ruoxua threw herself into her grandfather's arms like a swallow throwing itself into the forest. She gently rubbed against him and said coquettishly. Yes, yes, my dear baby. Grandfather misses you to death, Leng Qingtian said as he tightly hugged the baby in his arms. He knew that this should be the longest time he and the others had been in seclusion. However, he didn't want that to happen either. They obviously couldn't come out of seclusion without breaking through the barrier. Schwer. Didn't you see your brother? Leng Ruhan, who had been waiting for a long time, was jealous of his grandfather. Why did his precious little sister only see his grandfather? Sob, so sad. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.